Members, I have to inform the House that in terms of standing order number 33 subsection 7A, the Parliamentary Legal Committee sought and was granted an extension of 26 business days to consider statutory instrument number 77 of 2026. Are there any notices of motion? I don't see any. Hey, clerk. There's a request on a point of national interest, and I'll allow one. Honorable Shamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to congratulate His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, the government and the people of Zimbabwe on our historic election as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council as a member of the United Nations Security Council for the year 2027 to 2028. Mr. Speaker, sir, this achievement is far more than a diplomatic accolade. It is a recognition of Zimbabwe's growing influence in international affairs and a testament to our nation's commitment to multilateralism, peace, and international cooperation. Mr. Speaker, sir, Zimbabwe assumes this responsibility at a pivotal moment in global affairs. The world continues to grapple with enduring disparities between the global north and the global south, where the distribution of wealth, influence, and opportunities remains profoundly unequal. Developing nations, particularly in Africa, have for decades contributed immensely to the global economy through natural resources, yet often remain, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the periphery of global decision-making and economic benefit. Mr. Speaker, sir, Zimbabwe's presence on the Security Council provides an important platform to advance the African agenda and advocate for a more equitable international order. At a time when Africa possesses many of the strategic minerals required to power the global economy and the green energy transition, our voice will contribute to the growing call for value addition, beneficiation, and economic justice for resource-rich nations. Mr. Speaker, as a nation forged through the struggle for self-determination, Zimbabwe is uniquely positioned to champion the aspirations of Africa and the broader global south. Our election offers an opportunity to support calls for a more representative system of global governance and to ensure that the interests of developing nations are accorded the prominence they deserve. Honorable Speaker said this is not merely Zimbabwe taking a seat at the table. It is Zimbabwe carrying the hopes of a continent determined to convert its vast resource endowments into shared prosperity, industrial transformation, and sustainable development. Mr. Speaker said, I would like, therefore, to commend, Mr. Speaker said, His Excellency the President, our diplomatic corps, and the people of Zimbabwe on this momentous achievement, which places our nation at the forefront of shaping a more just, balanced, and inclusive global future. So I submit, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shamu. Your statement did not mention the overwhelming support which appears not to be appreciated by other people. Out of 190 votes, Zimbabwe attained 182 votes, and therefore short of only 8 to make 100% mark. That was a resounding success, and we thank you, Honorable Shamu, for making that statement accordingly. The clerk will read the first order of the day.
Adjourned debate on motion on the second reading of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Amendment Bill number 3, HB 1, 2026.
Thank you. When this debate was adjourned on the 3rd June 2026, the question before the House was a motion by the Honorable Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs that the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment number 3 Bill HB 1, 2026 be now read a second time. Is there any further debate? I have been given a list here by the whips. I'll go by this list. First, Honorable Member to take the floor is Honorable S. Matema.
A very good afternoon to you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you so very much for affording me the opportunity to make my submissions with respect to the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 that is before the House. At a very critical and defining moment in the legislative history of the Parliament of Zimbabwe and our great nation, Zimbabwe. As I stand here, Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that I arrived here with a constitutional mandate to represent the people of Buhera Central Constituency. And therefore, my submission this afternoon is a reflection of the voice of the people of Buhera. Mr. Speaker, say,
point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker. The honorable member can't debate while WhatsApping. We keep seeing him scrolling his phone and debating. Just debate your issues. He keeps, he's on Twitter or something. Because he keeps doing this, we are seeing it.
Has he been
from
hacked?
the screen.
Has he been hacked?
Honorable Speaker, he must just ga. We all want to debate here.
Please, Speaker, close the lacuna. There is no gap.
Order. Honorable member, you don't address the chair while seated down. Can you apologize for that?
I duly apologize, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank
I will allow the Honorable Matema to proceed and say ga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand here in agreement with CAB3 in its entirety. But I'll speak to just two provisions. Number one, election of the president as captured in clause 3 of the bill. And number two, the need for a referendum or lack thereof. But before I do that, it is pertinent, Mr. Speaker, to highlight that constitutional amendments are made in the face of obtaining social, political, economic, technological, and or ecological considerations and realities. And therefore, constitutions are not cast in stone. They respond to the demands of the day and season. Amendments are therefore inevitable in light of the above as we work towards reforming, reinforcing, strengthening, clarifying, aligning and or harmonizing certain provisions and prescriptions of existing statutes in its text. And CAB3 is doing exactly that. Mr. Speaker, context is everything. And allow me to go into history so that we depart from a point of evidence. The road that we are walking is not new with respect to how a president is elected. At the advent of our independence, Parliament elected both the President and Prime Minister. Constitutional Amendment 7 of 1987 had the effect of introducing a direct election of the President beginning in 1990. Mr. Speaker, universal adult suffrage speaks to giving people the right to vote as provided for in Section 67 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which is very explicit in terms of who is entitled to vote. It does not say how people vote, and therefore how the executive is selected. It is historically and legislatively obtuse and forced to present and claim direct presidential elections as some sacred liberation war inherited. Our first two elections post the liberation struggle gave us both the President and Prime Minister via Parliament. It admits of no debate, Mr. Speaker, that for the past 3 decades, we have had contestations around the election results with respect to the President, and for no reason other than political posturing and grandstanding. In the face of the posturing that are referred to, Mr. Speaker, say, how do we negotiate our way to an election that cannot be challenged? We need to retrace our political footsteps back to 1980, recalibrate, realign, reposition, and relaunch. This is what CAB3 is prescribing. An indirect election of the president via a joint sitting of the Senate and House of Assembly, with legislators carrying the voices of their constituencies, making that representation. This is what obtains in other jurisdictions that are used as models of perfection on matters legislative. The United States of America, the United Kingdom, India, closer home, the Republic of South Africa, and Botswana. Mr. Speaker says this route aligns with the provisions of Section 97 of the Constitution and will definitely bring in some balance. Section 97 gives the Senate and the National Assembly the power to remove or recall the president. Those that are given to basic accounting will know that there is a T account. When you debit, you credit. Our legislative T account demands, in our circumstance, according to the provisions and prescription of CAB3, that we appoint and recall the president should they need to do that. Mr. Speaker says, given the toxicity that has punctuated our elections for the past 3 decades, we need to right this wrong, and thanks to this amendment, such contestations are going to be a thing of the past. Coming to the issue of the referendum, those that are not given to the truth, those that are economic with the truth, and to the uncircumcised on constitutional provisions, the current constitution is unambiguous in its text and provisions. Section 328 is very clear with respect to where and when a referendum is required, as captured in Section 328, subsection 6A. It is required only for amendments affecting Chapter 4 with respect to Declaration of Rights, Chapter 16 with respect to agricultural land, and with respect to Section 328 itself. It must be made very clear that not every constitutional amendment requires a referendum, but only 3 scenarios as captured above. Mr. Speaker says, Parliament has the constitutional authority to amend other provisions through the prescribed parliamentary processes, as we are here doing. And we are in the correct constitutional space with respect to CAB3. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, say, as we sit in this august house, it should never escape us that this is our legislative 0 hour, our defining hour, our turning point, our Rubicon moment. We don't have any other route but to cross over with this constitutional amendment for the greater good. Posterity will judge us well for standing in defense of that which is good for both the current and future generations. We have taken the correct path under the circumstances and have done that within the confines of the law. Mr. Speaker says, speed does not matter when the vectors are wrong. I'm glad that we got our legislative vectors. I'm glad that we got our legislative vectors right. The drafters were thorough, and the Justice and Parliamentary Legal Committee was meticulous in their work. Mr. Speaker, sir, the best legislative decision we will ever make is to support this bill in its entirety. I call upon this House and the honorable members to apply their minds and not their hearts as we debate. Let us support this bill for history to judge as well. Let us be measured, deliberate and intentional in this legislative process. One process that puts our legislation on equal footing with other progressive jurisdictions, taking us up the scaffold of democratic governance and sustainable growth and development. As I take my seat, Mr. Speaker, say, I want to highlight and underline the fact that CAB3 is our shortest route to our sound legislative destination and the implementation thereof. And on account of that, I call upon this august House to lend its support of CAB3 for our own sake and for posterity. I so submit and thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker.
The next honorable member.
Point of privilege, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I beg your pardon?
The point of privilege.
Please, you must proceed by way of a point of order. And the honorable member has just sat down now after delivering his speech.
It's not a point of order, Mr. Speaker, because it relates to the list that you are using to give honorable members an opportunity to speak.
On that one, talk to your chief whip.
The list is not posted in our platform.
Chief whip.
We are having problems accessing that list.
Order. You have not informed me that you no longer have the chief whip, but I see the chief whip is here, so whisper to him. Honorable Pijot, Honorable Pijot, Honorable Pijot.
Ndatenda Mr. Speaker se ndinokumbira kutaura ndakagara pasi.
Honorable members, can you take your seats? Order. Order. Honorable Wende, please take your seats. Order. Honorable members, take your seats. Right, order. Regardless of this list, all are entitled to speak. So, order. I respect the list given to me by the whips, and if your name doesn't appear here, you still have a chance to speak. You won't be excluded. Thank you. Honorable Pijot.
Ndatenda Mr. Speaker se nekundipa mukana wokupawo muono wangu panhaurwa iri mudariro Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 of 2026. Nguva iyi takainamatira. Zuva ranhasi takarinamatira. Ndinotenda Mwari atisvitsa pane zuva rino. And ndinodakara zvikuru nekuti ndaita umwe wokutanga kuti ndipe muono wangu pane Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 of 2026. Ndoda kutanga kutenda Honorable Minister vedu vaziyambiziyandi nokuparura kwavakaita muno mumba takanyatsozvinzwisisa. Tagara tazvinzwisisazve vanhu vasati vaenda kumahearing. Ndotendazve Honorable Chairman vaZvobho nekutipa report yakakwenenjerwa inotapira uchiteerera kunzwa kuti zvinhu zvakaitwa nemazvo. Ndichitenda nekomiti yavo nevamwe vese vakabata basa guru iroro. Zvinokudzwa. Ibasa guru chose uye ibasa rakanakisisa ratakaona nezuro kuna minister na chairman vejustice. Regai nditendewo ruzhinji rwevanhu veZimbabwe vakadanwa uye vakadavira kupa muono wavo pamusoro pebhili iri. Ndikateerera nekutarisa zvendakaona muripoti yakapuwa nachairman, aiwa vanhu vakaenda vakawanda kunzvimbo dzavo kwavanga vachienda kupa muono, endi vanonzi vakapa vakasununguka. Vanhu vazhinji vakaenda kunozadzisa kodzero dzavo vachitaura zvavaidira bhili iri kana kuti zvavanga vasingadiri bhili iri. Ndikatarisa kumaprovinces kwatinobva, varume vanonzi vakakwanisa kupa muono wavo 22,120. Zuru, ndibvumirei nditaure nechirungu ipapo, Honorable Minister. 22,120. Madzimai akaita 32,111. Total ikaita 54,231. Ndiri kufara nei? Ndiri muno ndakamirira madzimai. Nyatsoteererai munzwe. 22,000 varume, 22,000 madzimai. Madzimai ave kuziya kodzero dzavo. Havachangogari vari mukicheni chete. Vave kuziva kuti kutongwa kwenyika kana kurongwa zvimwe zvinhu, nawo madzimai anofanira kusimuka. Saka ndoda kutenda vese vakabatsira kuti madzimai azive kodzero dzavo, asimuke aende kotaurawo kuti vanofarira bhili iri zvekudii. Saka mukaona vanonyanyofarira bhili iri vakadzi. Endi mai pamba vakati zvinoita chete. Baba nevana vese vanobva vatevera. Saka ndoda kuti kumakorokoto, kune madzimai ekuMidlands nemakorokoto, kumadzimai ese eZimbabwe, basa rakashandwa, takazviita. Uyezve vanorarama neurema vanzi 2,485 havana kusiyiwa. Vakananaira, vamwe vasikagoni kufamba, vamwe vakaenda nengoro vachienda kopa kodzero dzavo. Tinozvitenda zvakare. Zvakabva zvazadzisa zvinotaura mutungamiri wedu wenyika. Nechirungu zvinonzi don't leave anyone behind. Saka vanhu vakashandisa kodzero dzavo. Saka vakuru vakati kana kuti vachiti chati home chareva. Tsumo iyoyi inotaura kuti mazano kana nyevero kana mashoko anobva kune vari pasi haafaniri kusiyiwa, anofanira kukosheswa nevari kumusoro kana vane matari ari kumusoro anozoronga zvevanoronga. Uye tese tinoziva zvekuti chati bwege maziva zvazvinoreva. Ini ndongoti chanzwika. Chati bwege chanzwika. Saka zvakaitika chakati bwege chanzwika. Saka tiri muno mumba yeParliament kuti tichiongorora icho chakati bwege ichi. Zvinhu zvakabhuyiwa izvi murizevha, kumamisha uye kumadhorobha. Saka nhasi taungana pano tiri muno sedare reParliament kuti tichitaura zvetanzwa kubva kuripoti yabva kuna chairman. Muimbi wedu Alec Macheso akati zvido zvenyu kunyanya veduwe. Ndizvo zvativeunza pano nhasi. Chokwadi taungana pano kuti tizeye nyaya yacho, kuita kuti muonero, kuita kuti tionere pamwe chete chuma chomuzukuru ichi. Mutungamiri wenyika, His Excellency President, vakatiwo zvakare, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Zvakataurwa kuvanhu nevanhu ndizvo zvakauya muripoti. Havana kumai kubvisa, havana kuwedzera. Saka tiri kuda kuteerera izwi iroro ndio rinotisvitsa kuna Mwari. Saka ndinotenda kuti zvose zvakataurwa navanhu zvabuda muripoti yachairman wekomiti yejustice. Saka ndinoda kuti nditsigire pano, ndiri kutsigira zvakabudiswa zvose nachairman wedu wejustice committee. Ndoda kutanga neclause number 3. Ndoda kutanga ini nekusharudzwa ngatisharudze kuti members of parliament vachigona kusharudza president. Ndinozvitsigira zvakanyanya. Zvakanakisa kuti president vavhoterwe nemamembers of parliament, nekuti mamembers of parliament akasharwa nevanhu kumaconstituency kwavo. Zvido zvevanhu zvakaitwa kumaconstituency. Member of parliament haapo nemistake akatosharwa. Dai anga ari member of parliament umwe kunzvimbo ikoko Bulldoze vakawanda. Tine ma-constituency members 210. Tigoita ve-women's quarter 60 madzimai. Tigoita ve-senate vanoti murume mudzimai murume mudzimai 60. Kugoya madzimambo 16. Kugoya mayuthi 10. Kugoya vakamirira vakaremara 2. Vese ivavo vasharwa vatomirira tose, tiri kumisha, tiri kumapurazi, tiri mudhorobha, tisaka vashara. Saka ivava ndinobvuma kuti ngavachipiwa basa rimwe ravo guru, nekuti ndio vanouya kuita muno mitemo. Vachipiwa iwoyo mutemo wokuti vagone kushara president wavo. Kuti vanhu ava vagadzire mitemo serimwe rebasa ravo ndio zvatinokumbira. Nekuti vagara vagara vauya kuno kugadzira mutemo nekuita mamwe mabasa maviri matatu. Saka inini ndiri kuda kutsigira, nekuti ndikatarisa shure kwetinobva, makansela anovhoterwa mawadi, vagoenda kukansela kwavo vasingazivi kuti meya ndiani kana kuti chaita chairperson ndiani. Asi vasvika ikoko vanozi ndini mamirira nharaunda dzenyu, chiunganai, vochivhota, vovhotera mukuru wavo unova meya kana chairperson. Ko tasirwe isu tasiyana chiipa. Titori level yabva ikoko yave kuno, saka isu tinorikumbira basa irori. Tinorikumbira. Uyezve hazvisi zvitsva muZimbabwe. Dzokororo ine simba. Takambozviita pakaonekwa kunge pane izvi nezvi zvakashata tikazvisiya tikaita zvimwe. asi tazozviona kuti aiwa ine munakire wazvo. Saka ndichiti dzokororo ine simba. Uye zviri kuitwa nenyika dzakatipoteredza, South Africa neBotswana, zvichitofamba tichizviona zvichiita. Vazhinji vari muno vanenge vachitonyera kuti onai zvaitwa Botswana, onai zvaitwa kuSouth Africa, bvazve ndo zvetokopa. Kugara nhaka wona dzavamwe ndio zvitagara inhaka itatora iyi. Zviri kufamba munyika idzodzi, zviri kufamba zvakanaka chose, uye zvinodzikisa mikana yemhirizhonga, uye zvinokurudzira runyararo kuti vashoma ivavo vakamirira zvido zvenyu vachikupedzisirai basa rekuvhotera president wenyika. Zvorehwesu iwe neni tiri mumba muno nevekuseneti, zvanzi hero basa nevari kumusha, chiitai basa ikoko. Munorirambirei? Tinoritambira nemaoko maviri. Tsumo yoti apa totoona kuti kukokwa kwasamusha, kukokwa kwevagere naye, kuti muchiziya tsumo zveinotaura izvozvo. Tabveko, haticharambi tichidzoka ikoko, vatotituma nebasa. Takatarisa section 97 yeconstitution yeZimbabwe, ma-members of parliament ndiwo zvakare ane simba rekumisa basa president, inozi impeachment. Saka vanofanirwa kupuwa ma-members of parliament simba rekuvhotera president, vachipuwa nekuti vane simba rekumisa basa. Saka ndio pandinoti ipapo, aiwa chairman makatigonera, yakagonwa nyaya kuti komiti yakazvibvuma, ndo zvatinovhumawo. Ma-clauses 4, 9 and 10 ndinoatsigira zvakare ekuwedzerwa kwenguva yekutonga yapresident kubva pamakore 5 ichienda pamakore 9. Iwo makore 9 akaropafadzwa mubhaibheri, akaroora uye akada kutangira pamakore 9 zvikanzi awedzera achienda akadaro. Saka makore 9 apa yakaita nzara zvikazoita maguta. Makore 9 akaropafadzwa, tinoda kuzvitambira kuti tatorawo namba yatoropafadzwa munomu atiri kuno. Budiriro yatiri kuona iri kuitwa neNew Dispensation. New Dispensation ichitungamirirwa na His Excellency President E.D. Mnangagwa. Chokwadi vazhinji vanoti vakati zii voti chisionekwi chaitwa ichi mumhandara hwamai. Hauna kumboona zvakadaro. Vakafa hapana chevakaona. Pamasanctions, mazuva vakapinda pabasa vanga vakangosungwa nemasanctions. Nanhasi aripo masanctions. Andi vakavadana nanhasi vapenyu. Saka zvinhu zvinongonetsa zvakadaro. Pakaita COVID, kushanda kwavo kweNew Dispensation navaMnangagwa kukambonetsa, nekuti zvainetsa mitemo yakawanda pachirwere chiya, padutu mupengo riya. Asi vakakunda zvakadaro. Pangopera COVID nedutu mupengo rakambouya iri idai, munoziva kuti zvinhu zvanaka. Zvinhu zviri kuitwa zvinoonekwa. Vamwe vakamborota vachiti maspaghetti roads. Chitarisai zvaveko zvatokunda maspaghetti roads. Robert Mugabe airport ukasvika ipapo makeke unorasika. Iyo parliament wakagara ine takagara munotarisa kunaka kwazvo zvinorambwa nemuroyi. Ko paTrabablasi apo nezvidukwana zvayo Trabablasi zviri kungoitwa izvauzvioni here? Tese tiri muno tinozviona. Saka tiri kuti isusu temu iyoyo ngairebe, inozi kureba kwetemu ngakurebe kubva pa5 kubva pamakore 5 kuenda pa9 kuti vaone kupedzisa basa iri. Zvibingampini zvose izvo vari kuzvikunda president vedu neSecond Republic yedu kuita kwaMwari navaMnangagwa muno muZimbabwe yavo votonga ivo Dhavhidha kurova Goliath ngebuwe rimwe. Budiriro, shanduko, maguta, runyararo, kubatana, kushanda nekunzwisisana, nekufamba nenzira imwe chete, kuimba rumbo rumwe chete. Urumbo urwu rutori muripoti yauya mumba muno ukanyatsoteerera. Ukada kuona rumbo riri muripoti inongoti pamberi CAB3 ndiyo irimo. Vashoma vedu nyika yose vasingadaviri rukaparurwa. Hazvishamisi hazvo nekuti hazvishamisi vamwe vakarega kudavira, nekuti chose tinoziva kuti vana vembwa havasvinuri kana kuvhura meso musi umwe chete. Zvinobvumirwa. Kuwedzera urebu hwetemu yapresident zviri kutoitwa nenyika zhinji. Tatotarisa tikavhura magwaro tinoona kuti nyika zhinji dzeCommonwealth, kwanzi vamwe vanoti izvodzo 36 out of 56 dziri kutoita izvozvo zvetemu yakakunda makore 5 ichienda ku7 years or more. Commonwealth, nyika dzeCommonwealth dzese idzodzo patoriwo neUSA, United States of America, vanozviita vazivi vedemocracy. Saka kuti nesuwo tichigona kuita zvinoita America zvakanaka zvichizi zvakanaka, ndinofunga tinozvitenda tese. Ndinotsigira chose kuti temu yapresident, yemamembers of parliament neyemakhanzela ibve pa5 ibve pamakore 5 ifambe yakananga pamakore 9. Chokwadi ngatitendewo maruva chakata dzigowa. Mukuru wedu president yeSecond Republic vari kushanda. Tinodirei kumisa Mbape ave mu18 area. Regai agowese. Gorere paanogoesa ndiyo 2030. Iyo iri kure here 2030. Chokwadi mungada kumisa Messi kuti gara pabenchi. Iye ari kugona kuscorer. Siyai zvakadaro. Zvipei nguva tisvike 2030. Ngatimboshanda tivake nyika yedu. Timbokanganwa nhamo dzemaelection. Timbokanganwa kurwisana. Ngatimboshanda. Regai nditi ndoda kupedzisira nenyaya yegender commission. Paida moyo ndataura. Paida moyo papresident ndataura. Saka ndakuenda pagender commission. Gender commission ndinofunga tichiedza kuchinja zvinhu tinonga tichida kutarisa kuti tiri kuzvichinjira chii, tiri kuzvichinjira kuti zviite zviri nani here uye tiwane chii. Takatarisa gender commission tinoiziva kuti yakatanga kushanda 2016 and ichishanda kudaro yakapinda madzimai nevarume vese vari mundima, asi madzimai aionekwa ari munyasi zvakanyanya pamikana mizhinji pavarume. Gender commission inoona mikana, kuenzaniswa kwemikana pakati pemadzimai nevarume. Kubva ipapo kusvika nhasi yakashanda chaizvo kuti madzimai ange anokwezerawo padhuze nemukana kuvarume. Tikateerera izvozvi tanga tichingombera maoko madzimai ari kukwiziridzwa napresident. Tinoda kuzvitenda izvozvo. Ndi president vari kushanda, igender commission iri kushanda, tiri kuzvitenda. Zvino gender commission tochitarisa isusu kuti inomboshandisa mari peyakaita zvinhu zvese izvi. Bhajeti rayo rakamira sei? Munozviziva imi tichiita zvebhajeti muno. Gender commission kushanda kwayo kwese haisati yambopuwa kana 1% yebhajeti yese yenyika. Kazhinji inenge iri mu 0.02% up to 0.04% yemari yenyika. Zvoreva kuti haimboshandisi mari zhinji. Saka tikaichinja zvedu tikaendesa tikaimisa kuti iyo isasashanda, toendesa kuZimbabwe Human Rights Commission, hongu zvinogona kuita kuti basa rese riiswe ikoko, asi tinenge tasevha chii? Zvakarezve gender commission haigoni kuvaka mabridge, haigoni kuvaka madhamu, asi inogona kuenzanisa kushanda, kuenzanisa mikana pakati pevarume nemadzimai. Saka iri gender commission tanga takafara kuti gender commission iripo, ina chairperson wayo, ine makomishena ayo, ichibva yangotarisa zvese zvebudiriro nezvema-human rights ari ikoko. And inenge ine chiremerera iri gender commission. Zvino ikazotorwa ikaenda kuZimbabwe Human Rights Commission, hatizvirambi zvedu, asi inenge yava department. Chiremerera chinenge chadini? Chati bviswei. Ini zvangu ndakamira pano ndoti pachirungu ndino iya inonzi fear of the unknown. Inozokwanisa here Human Rights Commission kushanda mashandire anga aita gender commission. Saka ndiri kuti inini zvakangonaka zvese kuti mufunge kuisa human rights, asi yanga yashanda zvayo zvakanaka, yanga iri zvayanga yakazvimirira. Saka ndinofunga mungangotiitira zvakanaka kungosiya yakazvidini, yakazvigarira. Aiwa, ndoda kutenda zvikuru Mr. Speaker mandipa mukana iwoyu. Ndokumbira kuti imba ino isapote yese Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Tingoimba rumbo rumwe chete, ndatenda zvikuru.
Thank you, Honorable Joe. The next honorable member is Honorable Mozeri. Please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to address this august House in opposition to the Constitution Amendment Bill number 3, 2026. I do so conscious of the gravity that attaches to any proceeding which seeks to alter the supreme law of this land. The Constitution is not just a legislative instrument, it is the covenant between the state and its citizens. The foundation architecture of our republic, the embodiment of the aspirations of the people who fought, bled, and sacrificed the sort of self-determination. A social contract between the people of this land. To amend it is to amend it properly, a constitutional betrayal of the people. Mr. Speaker, I have studied the report of the Joint Portfolio Committees laid before this House, and I commend the committee for the diligence it has brought to process this constitutional magnitude. Mr. Speaker, I begin with commendation for the only right that where the committee has been correct, this House should say so loudly. Mr. Speaker, the committee's commendation on clause 21 should not be adopted, and that status quo on the political neutrality of traditional leaders should be preserved. It is constitutionally sound and democratically principled and worthy of praise. Section 281 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, read together with Section 163(1)(f) of 165(4)(a) and 283(c)(5), establishes a coherent and deliberate constitution scheme. The scheme is premised on a fundamental truth that traditional leaders serve communities, not political parties. They are the custodians of the customary law and communal justice. They preside over matters of inheritance, land allocation, and community dispute resolution in their capacity as judicial officers under our constitutional framework. To permit them to engage openly in partisan political activity is not just ignorance, it is a constitutional contradictory. Mr. Speaker said, Section 165(4) imposes upon judicial officers a duty of impartiality that is non-negotiable. Traditional leaders who exercise judicial functions cannot simultaneously hold political allegiance without destroying the neutrality upon which the legitimacy of their judicial role depends. A chief who campaigns for a political party at a rally on Saturday cannot credibly adjudicate a boundary dispute between a ruling party supporter and an opposition member on Monday. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution understood this, the committee has understood this, and the House must understand it. Furthermore, in the rural communities where traditional authority is most deeply felt, political partisanship by chiefs creates conditions ripe for coercion, intimidation, and the prosecution of political minorities. The villagers who are most dependent on the goodwill of traditional structures for access to land and communal resources would be rendered most vulnerable. The committee must correct to reject this clause, and the House should affirm that rejection with resounding vote to say no. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to a matter of physical logic and institutional coherence, specifically the proposal to establish yet another constitutional commission, the Zimbabwe Delimitation Commission. The committee, in recommending the adoption of the clauses 11, 12, and 13, has accepted the argument that specialized boundary drawing board is necessary. Mr. Speaker says, I reject that reasoning. Yes. We are a nation that struggles to fund constitutional commissions. It already possesses. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, institutes established under 12 of the Constitution, which the promise of adequate resource or operate in state chronic underfunding. The committee has itself in clause 18-19 had testimony from the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, which operates on a mere 0.02% to 0.04% of the national budget. That is physical reality in which we live. And yet, Mr. Speaker said, the proponents of this bill ask this nation to create another commission with its own secretariat, its own commissioner, and its deputy commissioners, in its office, its own office infrastructure, its own operational budget, its own staff establishment, and its own procurement requirements to perform the function of that section 161 of the Constitution is already invested in ZEC, and which ZEC has institutional competence and existing capacity to perform. If the concern is that ZEC delimitation exercise have been imperfect, the answer is to reform. Yes. Resourcing and enhancing accountability, not the proliferation of constitution bodies. Every new commission is a new line item on the national budget. Every new commission is a new bureaucracy. Every new commission creates new patronage. Mr. Speaker said, a nation that cannot properly fund the commissions, it should not be created commissions it does not need. Amen. Mr. Speaker, Additionally, the committee has corrected not necessity for what it described as meticulous coordination between ZEC and proposed delimitation commission. It put into this house, if the two bodies must coordinate so closely, what precisely is the utility of their separation? You have taken one institution, split into two, double the administrative costs and called it efficiency. This is institutional manipulation masquerading as reform. Mr. Speaker, the proposed transfer of voter registration and maintenance of voters roll from the ZEC to Registrar General represents one of the most constitutionally alarming provisions in this bill. The House must not have a short memory. The very reason voter registration was removed from the Registrar General and placed in ZEC was institutional credibility. The voters' role under the Registrar General was to use the most restrained available language, the subject of profound public concern regarding manipulation, partisan management and executive interference. ZEC was established under Section 238 of the Constitution as an independent constitutional commission precisely to insult the electoral process from the executive end. The Shona have a saying, Section 235(1)(b) of the Constitution mandates that independent commissions must be independent and must not be subject to the direct or control of anyone. The Registrar General is a government department. It is headed by a public servant who answers to the minister, who answers the president. There is no constitutional independence whatsoever. To invest the voters' role, the very instrument of electoral participation in such a body is to subordinate the right to vote to executive discretion. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, it has on record opposed this transfer. ZEC has invested substantially in biometric voter registration systems and a poll-based voting architecture introduced in 2018. They are not rival investments. They represent national infrastructure of electoral integrity. To dismantle and transfer the infrastructure to a body with no equivalent technical capacity, no equivalent constitutional independence, and no equivalent track record in biometric electoral management is to trade institutional advancement for institutional regression. This is not efficient. This is executive capture dressed in administrative language. The argument that the model reduces electoral violence in admission of institutional failure, not a constitutional solution. If our presidential elections are violent, the answer is to elect a reform, strengthened law enforcement, and the prosecution of perpetrators of electoral violence. The answer is not to remove the vote from the citizenry altogether. You do not cure electoral violence by abolishing elections. Mr. Speaker, clauses 4 and 9, 10 propose the extension of the electoral cycle from 5 to 7 years with explicit application to the incumbent holder of the office of the president of members of the parliament. On this point, the Constitution speaks with unmistakable clarity. Section 328 of 7 provides in express terms that any amendment to a provision of the Constitution that extends the term of office of the President shall not apply to the person who holds the office at the moment the amendment is done. That provision is not ambiguous. It admits no judicial interpretation that would permit its circumvention. It was placed in the Constitution as a deliberate safeguard against precisely the kind of term manipulation that has disfigured so many African constitutions. Section 328 of 7 is not a preference, it is a prohibition of what we see being attempted in this august house. Mr. Speaker said, the Parliament can amend the Constitution, but the Parliament cannot amend a Constitution provision by passing an amendment that violates the very terms of the provision. An amendment in breach of section 328(7) is not only political questionable, it is a constitutionally void and ab initio. A parliament that purports to pass it and executive that purports to benefit from it are acting in defiance of the supreme law of the land. Whatever view the House can, whatever view this House can, this House takes as desirably of 7-year terms as a matter of policy, I have strong reservations even on that score. The application of those terms to be incumbent president is constitutionally impermissible. The committee has failed to address this with seriousness it demands. The House must not repeat that failure and again vote emphatically no on this amendment. The functions of the Defense Forces, clause 16. Mr. Speaker said, I come now to what I regard as most constitutionally dangerous provision in the entire bill of clause 16, which proposes to amend section 212 of the Constitution governing the function of the Defense Forces. Section 212 of the current Constitution mandates that the Defense Forces of Zimbabwe exist to defend Zimbabwe. To protect its integrity, its territory and sovereignty, and cruelly to uphold its constitution. The constitutional fidelity obligation of the Defense Forces is not incidental. It is fundamental. It is what distinguishes professional defense from a partisan instrument of a political power. The amendment proposes to limit and reconfigure the functions of the Defense Forces in ways that the proponents claim will reduce undue military influence in civilian governance. Mr. Speaker said, I put it to you and to this House, this amendment does not reduce military influence in governance. What it does, what should alarm every member of this House, regardless of the political affiliation, is strip to Defense Forces of their constitutional mandate to uphold the Constitution itself. Consider what that means in practice. The obligation to uphold the Constitution is the legal basis upon which the Defense Forces may, in extremes, resist unconstitutional conduct, including unconstitutional conduct by the executive itself. It is the provision of the anchors of the military which the Constitution, rather than purely political framework, remove the obligation, and you have Defense Force whose loyalty must runs not to the Constitution of Zimbabwe, but whosoever issues the command. This is dangerous. This is not a military theory, Mr. Speaker said. This is a matter of constitutional architecture. A defense force that is no longer constitutionally mandated to uphold the Constitution becomes, by necessary implication, a force accountable only to its command hierarchy. Command hierarchies are appointed by and answerable to the President. The consequence of this transformation of the constitutional anchored military into an instrument of executive will. The minority submissions on this clause warned correctly that the amendment could dilute the military's fundamental commitment to uphold and protect the supreme law of the land. Mr. Speaker said, dilute is too general word. The removal of constitutional fidelity obligation does not dilute the commitment to extinguish it, the commitment it extinguishes. It converts the constitutional duty into a discretionary act. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the argument that the amendment is necessary to prevent military interference in civilian governments is constitutionally secular. The existing constitutional framework already deletes the powers of law and defense forces. The principle of civilian supremacy over the military is already embedded in our constitutional order. If there are instances of improper military conduct in civilian affairs...
Order, remember, you've got 2 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think in 2 minutes I'll be done. Furthermore, the Speaker amendment of this necessary prevent military interference in civilian government is constitutional and secular. The existing constitutional framework already deletes the proper role of the defense forces. The principle of civilian supremacy over the military is already embedded in our constitutional order. If there is instance of improper military conduct in civilian affairs, those instances are governed by existing law, by the principles of the civilian oversight and the accountability mechanisms of Parliament itself. They are not cured by removing the constitutional foundation military loyalty to the supreme law. I say to this House with the utmost gravity, a government that disempowers its own military from the constitutional obligation to defend the constitution is a government that has something to fear from a constitutional faithful military. And a government that fears a constitutionally fearful military is a government that intends to act unconstitutionally. This House will reject clause 16 in its totality. Presidential appointment of judges, clause 15. Mr. Speaker said clause 15 proposes to invest the appointment of judges in the president to be exercised in consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. The word consultation in constitutional law carries a specific and well understood meaning. It does not mean concurrence, it does not mean approval, it does not mean president must hear the views of the JSC and in then entire free to disregard them. This is not a safeguard. It is an appearance of safeguard without the substance of one.
Order, honorable member. Unfortunately, your time is up.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the honorable member's time be extended.
I object.
I object, Mr.
Order.
Objected.
Order.
Object, Mr. Speaker,
Order.
Objected.
Order. Honorable Mshoriwa, you moved for the extension.
I moved for extension of only 5 minutes, Mr. Speaker.
Objected. Order. 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 Who seconds?
I second. I second.
Honorable Kapagila, you second.
Because
Thank you. Who objects?
I object. I object. I object. I object, Mr. Speaker,
Thank you. Honorable members, we have ways of dealing with these things. If somebody proposes an extension, allow the speaker to seek for a seconder, and then allow the speaker also to look for the objections if they are there. So there is an objection, unfortunately, Honorable Mozeri, you cannot continue. The next speaker to take the floor is Honorable Chidua.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the debate on the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. And I would want to start by addressing those who fear change. Honorable Speaker, I rise with the unshakable conviction to affirm a simple but vital truth. No constitution is immune to change. A constitution is not a sacred relic that is frozen in time. It is a living instrument created by human beings to serve the needs of society. When it fails to adapt to changing national realities, it risks becoming a barrier to progress rather than a shield of justice. That is precisely why Constitutional Amendment number 3 is not merely desirable, but it is necessary. Honorable Speaker, the 2013 Constitution itself proves this point. It was not born as a perfect and final document, but as a negotiated compromise during the government of national unity, shaped by concessions between ZANU-PF, the MDC, and the other political actors. It reflected the demands of that moment, not the permanent and settled destiny of our republic. Honorable Speaker, because that constitution emerged from compromise, it inevitably carried provisions that were transitional, incomplete, or designed more to preserve political peace than to secure long-term national efficiency and development. Zimbabwe has since moved forward, and our constitutional framework must move forward with it. And amendment number 3 is a mature recognition that the nation now requires stronger governance, greater judicial efficiency, and constitutional arrangements that speak directly to present challenges and future aspirations. Honorable Speaker, successful democracies teach us that strong constitutions are not those that never change, but those that adapt wisely to national needs. Germany's basic law, one of the most respected constitutions in the world, has been amended more than 60 times, while India's constitution has been amended over 100 times to respond to development, justice, and governance challenges. Zimbabwe must learn from these examples. Constitutional amendment is not a dangerous departure. It is a responsible step towards a more practical, responsive, and forward-looking constitutional order. And I might want to give you specific examples of respected democracies that have amended their constitutions. The United States, their constitution is 236 years old. It has been amended 27 times, which is an average of one amendment in 9 years. Germany's constitution is 74 years. It has been amended 63 times, which is an average of an amendment per year. And yet it is the European leader. India's constitution is 73 years old. It has been amended 105 times. And it is the rising superpower. And this is an average of an amendment in every 8 months. France, the constitution is 65 years old. It has been amended 24 times, which is an average of an amendment every 3 years. And it is a country with huge global influence. South Africa, the constitution is 27 years old. It has been amended 17 times. And I decided to round up the average. It has got an average of 2 years per amendment. Yet it is our continental leader. Honorable Speaker, from this presentation, the strongest democracies embrace constitutional evolution. The weakest democracies that we are being told that we should not change our constitution here have got rigid, unchangeable constitutions that snap under pressure. The power to amend a constitution is not a loophole for abuse. It is the clearest expression of popular sovereignty exercised through elected representatives. Let us therefore choose evolution over stagnation, progress over paralysis, and national advancement over attachment to compromises arrangement of the past. For these reasons, Honorable Speaker, barring one proposal that I will explain later, I strongly support Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 as a necessary step toward a more effective, modern, and development-oriented Zimbabwe. So, Honorable Speaker, let me pick a few proposed amendments. The first one being the increase of the duration of the term or the length of the electoral cycle from 5 to 7 years. Honorable Speaker, I support the amendment of increasing the term of office from 5 to 7 years. Honorable Speaker, a nation that is serious about development must give its leadership enough time to plan, implement, and deliver meaningful results. The issue before this House is not merely political. It is fundamentally about development time. In practice, 5 years is often too short. A government loses valuable time in transition, policy formulation, institutional adjustment, and early implementation. Just when programs begin to take root, attention then shifts again to the next election. The cycle weakens continuity and encourages short-term politics instead of long-term national progress. A 7-year term gives Zimbabwe a better opportunity to move beyond promises and to focus on delivery, stability, and measurable outcomes. Honorable Speaker, development is not a sprint. Development is a long and demanding journey. Roads, hospitals, schools, power generation, agricultural reform, industrial recovery, rural industrialization, mineral beneficiation that we are talking about, and improving living standards cannot be fully achieved within a rushed political cycle. These require consistency, discipline, and sustained leadership. This amendment must therefore not be misunderstood as an extension for its own sake. It is an extension for national work, for national progress, and for national results. The people of Zimbabwe are not asking for endless campaigns. They are asking for jobs. They are asking for infrastructure, functioning public services, and a government with enough time to complete what it begins. For these reasons, Honorable Speaker, I strongly support this amendment as a practical and forward-looking reform that can give our nation the stability and time it needs to build lasting development. Honorable Speaker, let me transition to the clause dealing with the President being voted by Parliament. And I wanted to start from the start that, Honorable Speaker, I strongly support the amendment that provides for the President to be elected by Parliament. Honorable Speaker, this voting model promotes stability, accountability, and mature democratic governance. Just to bring light on this one, Honorable Speaker, democracy is not measured only by a national contest. Democracy is measured by whether the system produces legitimate leadership, strong institutions, and effective governance. The people elect members of Parliament to represent their will, make laws, approve budgets, and holding the executive to account. If Parliament carries the people's mandate in all these critical matters, then it also has the democratic legitimacy to elect the President on behalf of the nation. This is not a denial of democracy. It is representative democracy in action. Honorable Speaker, direct presidential elections often deepen polarization, personalize power, and turn national leadership into contests of slogans rather than substance. A parliamentary election of the President encourages consensus, cooperation, and responsibility among elected representatives. It is also a model that is used in respected democracies in the region, such as South Africa and Botswana. Honorable Speaker, in India, the President is elected indirectly by an electoral college made up of elected members of Parliament and state legislatures. And they use proportional representation and the single transferable vote. In the United States, the people do not vote directly for the president. The decisive choice is made through the Electoral College, which means the public vote is filtered through a constitutional intermediary rather than a direct presidential vote. In Ireland and Sri Lanka, the head of state is also chosen through indirect and parliamentary style mechanisms rather than a direct nationwide presidential race. For Zimbabwe, this amendment offers a more stable, practical, and institutionally sound path to national leadership. And for this reason, I fully support the amendment. I transition to the Gender Commission. Honorable Speaker, I listened to the presentation and submission that was given by Honorable Zimwaves, and the reasons that he proffered for subsuming the Gender Commission in the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. Honorable Speaker, I would want to go along by the submission by Honorable Pijo. Honorable Speaker, I strongly support the retention of a separate gender commission and the non-inclusion of gender affairs within the Human Rights Commission. Gender equality is too important to be diluted inside a broader institution. A standalone gender commission gives focused attention to women's rights, gender-based violence, discrimination, and equality monitoring. These are serious and persistent challenges that require specialized expertise, clear visibility, and dedicated accountability. If we merge gender functions into a general human rights board, we risk reducing agency and weakening the institutional focus needed to confront these issues effectively. Honorable Speaker, a separate gender commission is easier for citizens to identify, easier for victims to approach, and easier for Parliament to hold accountable for results. Gender-related violations are often underreported, normalized or ignored, and that is exactly why a dedicated institution is necessary. If we are truly committed to protecting women and advancing equality, then we must strengthen, not weaken, the machinery designed for that purpose. For these reasons, Honorable Speaker, I strongly support the retention of an independent gender commission. Honorable Speaker, allow me to transition to the registration of voters to be done by the Registrar General. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to state that I fully support the proposed amendment transferring the responsibility of voter registration and the management of the voters' roll from ZEC to the Registrar General. Honorable Speaker, a credible election begins with a credible register. The voters' roll is not just an election roll. It is a vital national record that depends on accurate identification, proper record keeping, and constant updating as citizens are born, relocate, or pass away. These are functions that naturally fall within the administrative expertise of the Registrar General, whose office is built to manage civil records with continuity and efficiency. By placing voter registration where the core population data is already maintained, this amendment can reduce duplication, improve verification, speed up updates, and strengthen the accuracy of the roll. Honorable Speaker, this reform is not about weakening elections. It is about improving the administration foundation on which electoral credibility rests. For these reasons, I fully support this amendment as a practical, logical, and necessary step towards efficient and a reliable electoral system in Zimbabwe. Let me transition to the Zimbabwe Electoral Delimitation Commission. Honorable Speaker, the drawing of electoral boundaries is not a mere technical exercise, but a cornerstone of democracy itself. Fair boundaries are essential for fair representation, political legitimacy, and public confidence in the electoral process. If constituent lines are drawn unjustly, the will of the people can be distorted before a single ballot is cast. A nation that values democracy must ensure that every vote carries equal weight and that constituencies reflect population realities, geography, and community identity. That is why delimitation must never be treated as an afterthought or as a side function buried within an overburdened institution. It requires a dedicated body with a clear mandate, technical competence, transparency, and unquestionable integrity. Establishing a specialized commission would ensure that this critical function is handled with the seriousness it deserves. And in doing so, it would strengthen the foundation of representative democracy. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, history will judge us not by whether we kept our constitution unchanged, but by whether we had the wisdom to make it serve our people effectively. I would therefore urge the House to support the motion on the basis that CAB3 is about continuity. It is about efficiency. It is about stability. It is about long-term national planning. Zimbabwe's people deserve a governance system that is focused, cost-conscious, and capable of delivering sustained development. I so submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chidua. The next honorable member to take the floor is Honorable P. Machangu.
Salibonani mgcinihlalo. Itshona njani?
Siyatshona nitshona njani mhlonishwa?
Hayi ngiyatshona. Mina lami ngiphakamile ukuthi ngifake ilizwi lami mayelana lodaba lolu osixoxisana ngalo olothiseka mthetho okuthiwa ngesilungu Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 aka 2026. Isandulelo sami somlomo simi kanje. Sizwile imbali ekhulunywe ngubaba umongameli ubaba okulawula igatsha lwezemthetho ubaba uZiyambi landisa ngokuthi izifiso leziloyiso zakhe ngaleli ukuguqula kwalesisekelo ufisa ukuthi zibe njani. Ngase ngilalela njalo ngilandelela ugwalo olulotshwe nguChalimana obona ngezomthetho kule committee yangikhona. Nginanzelele ukuthi nje bathe behamba jikelele emhlabeni wethu eZimbabwe kulabantu abaphatheke ngezinga eliphezulu kakhulu okokuthi singabe sixoxa yebo lapha kodwa vele sokuvunyiwe ukuthi lesiseka mthetho siguqulwe. Ngibuyeleke ukuthi kuzinga labantu abaphathiseke kulolu hambo sinanzelela ukuthi abahambe bengabantu mathupha kade beyinkulungwane inkulungwane ezingama-54,000 54,000 kuthi laba abalobe ingwalo labo befaka imbono yabo babe izigidi inkulungwane ezingama-500 ezilama-40 which is 540,000. Amaqembu eParliamente ke athola ukuthi iningi labantu belusekela lumbono wokuthi isiseka mthetho siguqulwe ngaleso simo. Njalo abalungu bathi figures don't lie. So ukutshengisa ukuthi abantu abanengi bakuphakamisela lokho. Bese ngibuya ke mgcini sihlalo somlomo ukuthi Yebo sisekamthetho sethu abanye bangakhalaza ukuthi he siguqulelwani. Abanye sebekhulumile ukuthi kwamanye amazwe bekuguqula hlezi umnyaka ngomnyaka. EZimbabwe thina siyananzelela ukuthi lathi siyaguqula ngemva kwesikhathi eside. Phose iminyaka 13 sesiguqula lapha sacina khona ukuthi siguqule. Njalo bese ngisithi isisekamthetho lesi siyefakwa yithi thina abantu. Njalo isisekamthetho lesi akumelanga sibe yithi sibopha thina abantu. Isisekamthetho sisifakayo lesi kumele sisebenzele abantu njalo ngabantu. Asingeke sathi njoba savela safakwa akusamelanga siguqulwe angani lilitshe likantunjambila. Hatshi. Somlomo mina ngizathanda ukuqala ke ngokuthi mina ngokwami ngiyasekela ngimela abantu belupane East eMarch North lesi sisekamthetho ukuthi siguqule ngendlela esifisa ukuthi sibe ngayo. Somlomo okokuqala mina ngizakhuluma ngesisekamthetho lesi isiqa sokuthi ukusebenza kukamongameli lokusebenza kweParliament makuguqule sisuka komnyaka emihlanu kusibe eminyakeni eyisikhombisa. Ebese nginanzela ukuthi even eBhayibhelini inamba leli esingathi yisikhombisa kukhanya ngathi inamba yokusekile kakhulu. Ngoba napha abantwana bako-Israyeli bathunywa ukuthi hambani liyebhoda imiduli yaseJericho kwesikhombisa. Kuthi ngelanga lesikhombisa liphinde libhode okwesikhombisa kusukela ekuseni ukuze imiduli yaseJericho idilike. So ngokunjalo leli zinga esililoyisa ukuthi libe yilona iminyaka eyisikhombisa ngilibona lunge kakhulu ngoba lizasinika ithuba njengabameli babantu ukuthi sisebenze. Njalo linika labakhokhela abakhona ukuthi basebenze ukuze izifiso lezilawulo lemgqomo yabo abaye beyifakile ifezeke. Njengathi ngapha eMatabeleland North kule chibi esilakhayo igwayishangani asochibi nje elingayakhiwe ngeminyaka emihlanu lichibi elingachaphela hlezi iminyaka eli10 kusema-13. So iko sikhangelela ukuthi nxa abantu bengaphiwa ithuba ngumongameli ephiwa ithuba lokuthi sebenze efeze imlayo izifiso zakhe leziloyise zakho ingqubela phambili lokuthuthuka kwelizwe lethu kungaphumelela kuye phambili. Njalo futhi ukuthi uma sisenza ama-projects ambalwa athatha isikhathi eside kuba lula ukuthi eqedisiswe ngumuntu owaqalileyo ngoba ebekwazi ukuthi ubevele efise ukuthi eye ngaphi. Njengoba isitsho ugcina sihlala ukuthi kwesinye isikhathi abantu thina ethi sizibambelelane ngokuzifakela imigomo esingathi ngama-restrictions thina sodwa sigcina singaphuthanga izifiso zethu. So isebenezi somlomo izanika uhulumende isikhathi eseneleyo sokuqedisa izinhlelo zokuthuthukisa ilizwe lethu. Njalo kuvame ukuthi ukukhetho esingathi yicycle yokhetho lokuthi kumele ukuthi every 5 years hayi igatigati idiniwe bantu. Igatigati idiniwe ngoba siyanenzelela ukuthi ngemva kokhetho kuba lobudlwangudlwangu ngesikhathi abantu bekhonona ukuthi impumela hayi ayibingayisweda siyikhangelele besikhangelela ukuthi uzibanikanyana ngabe nguyothana wathana uze kube thini kodwa sithi mayuyu thina sithi kakudlule kuye ku7 years ukuze abantu laba bephiwe ithuba lokuthi beziqoqe besebenze bechiye ukubalelo bese endaweni yokhetho lokulwa lokhana kokhetho okucina kudiliza umbane lokuthi abantu bebeyimbumba besebenze ezigabeni bethuthukisa imbe bakha amanzi beyakhe amabholoko beyakhe izikolo bakhe konke kuyabiyela emuva kwabantu sebesithi within 3 years sokumele sigijime futhi seqala ukukhankasela ezokhetho kucina kungelanto ephelayo eyenziwa iphutshe. njalo lokho kunceda ukuthini nxa ngithi ngiyakunanzelela uma singafaka ukuthi ukhetho lwenza after iminyaka eyisikhombisa ungqongqoshe obona ngezezimali umgcini isikhwama wezezimali layo kuyamnika ithuba lokuthi agole adinge imali zokuthuthukisa ilizwe lethu ukuze singasali sisemuva upresident uyathi ukuthi akumelanga kube le ndawo esala emuva kodwa nxa kuyikuthi sonke isikhathi ngemva kweminyaka emihlanu sesibuyela kumbuthano ukuthi sesikhankasa sesicina sitshiya konke lokho siwukhangela ukuthi kuyenzakala sesikhankasa ukuthi sithi siseminyakeni emithathu sesiphinde sibuyela futhi singakasebenzi lutho so nxa kunjalo nxa sifake iminyaka eyisikhombisa iminyaka le emibili izaba ngeyokusila kukhetho eyokusila kubudlawudlawe esihlangane labo lokudida lohlangane ngesikhathi sokuthi kuthi iminyaka emihlanu ibe yiminyaka yokusebenza kulombono kapresident wethu awaka vision 2030 asihambeni lawo mbono lo kasifisi ukuchitha ichaga lamanzi sesizafika emaphethelweni kasihambeni lawo ukuze sifinyelele siphutshe sifike kulo mbono ebese ngiphakamisa ke isigaba esingathi ngiclose 3 lapho kuthiwa umongameli sifisa besiloyisa ukuthi ekhethwe ngabameli beParliament mina ngithi umbono lo ukahle anti abameli beParliament bakhethwe nguzulu wonke lapho esimela khona kuma constituency so uma umeli weParliament emi njengabe ngimela abantu belupane iconstituency engiyimelayo so lokho engikukhulumayo hlezi phinde yibo bakukhulumayo ngoba bavumelana nabo so ngokunjalo mina ngibona kungcono ukuthi bekhethe ngoba balamandla njalo ukuthi bemsuse bebemguqule lapho engenzanga kahle singathi impeachment so ukususa njani umuntu ongasakwanga nguwe esikhundleni yena efakwe ekhethwe nguzulu ngoba siyanenzelela ukuthi akula muntu ambiyazake sibone isehlakayo sokuthi nxa sofuna ukuyenzwa ukuguqula mbe impeachment abantu bayabuyela kubantu abakhethayo emakhaya ukuthi hayi sesifuna ukuthi senze lokho kodwa idale leParliament liyama lodwa liyenze isinqumo lembono bekhethe umongameli wabo lokho engikutshoyo ukuthi ilizwi lamadala eParliament lilizwi lekaZulu wonke umhlaba jikelele ebese ngisithi ke akuqali neZimbabwe kuphela.
Honorable Speaker, I have a point of order.
Order, Honorable Macham. Yes, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I'm really worried about time management. I remember the last Parliament, it was so transparent because there was a lighting system. You could see red, green, amber. You could tell that your time is running out. And for now, basically, I'm not sure where you are managing your time. I think it's very important to do fairness in terms of time management.
Honorable member, I know the name. Timekeeping is done by the clerks here. I am talking and you cannot be talking like that. Honorable Lachwan, we only do that when we're in the beer gardens, but here we can't. Huh? Timekeeping is done by the clerk's desk, and if you have noticed from the past two honorable members that were speaking, you'd notice one of the clerks coming up here to show me that the time left is so many minutes. So it's very transparent. I am not even keeping time myself as the chair. It's being kept right there by the clerk's desk. So it is very transparent and it's very prudent. Right.
On a point of clarification, Mr. Speaker.
What do you want to clarify?
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Mseami
mentioned something which is key. In the old ancient parliament that we had a light there. We are in a modern parliament. Don't we have that system in place? Because it will be amiss to say that we don't have that system in this parliament.
Right. Thank you very much, Honorable Mshoriwa. It is well noted. I think with this 7-year extension, some of these things shall be fulfilled. So yes.
On a point of order, Honorable Speaker. On a point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Molokeli. Order.
I have a point of order.
Order, please take your seat. Honorable Molokeli, earlier on, you were actually the one who shouted to say you want an extension of 50 years. I heard you. So, I don't know why you are standing on a point of order.
On a point of order, Honorable Speaker, it's my right to have a point of order.
So, do you want to do a point of
Every member of parliament has the right to have a point of order.
Order, Honorable Molokeli. You want to make a point of order on my ruling or what?
No. I want to do a point of order. Are you stopping me from making a point of order?
All right, what's your point of order?
My point of order is that the principle of neutrality is a fundamental principle for any chairperson or presiding office. You cannot, as an Honorable Speaker, talk about a 7-year extension on the same bill that you are debating. It's unacceptable, Honorable Speaker. It's not acceptable. You have to withdraw. You have to withdraw. You can't talk about 7-year extension when you are the chair. What kind of neutrality is that? We're still debating. You have to withdraw. Withdraw.
Are you done? Right, thank you. You may take your seat. Honorable Machango, please continue.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo ngokungivikela abantu bagcine ufuna ukungihlanhlatha. Ngiyabonga bengisakhuluma laphana ukuthi lokhu kawuqali ngelizwe lethu leZimbabwe kuphela ukuthi umongameli ukhethwa abameli bedale beParliament. Siyabona ukuthi iSouth Africa iyakusebenzisa lokho, iMauritius layo iyasebenzisa lokho, kanye leBotswana layo iyasebenza le ndlela abakhetha ngayo umongameli wabo. Ngokunjalo mina ngithi indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili ngoba yibo abazasihlomisa ukuthi sikufeza kanjani. Ebese ngisithi ke Somlomo ngiza ukuthi ngitshontsha amazwi komunye uSika Mfundo owakhuluma mhla ka-22 Nhlolanja ngo-2020 uProfessor Olaf Madubu ngesikhathi ekhuluma emhlanganweni we-Hill Zimbabwe Trust wavuma ukuthi iParliament lingasebenza njenge-electoral college ngoba limele abantu abakhethe amalunga abo. So namhlanje lakho ukuthi ukuvuma lokho ngoba yena wasivula amehlo uthi lokho kungenzeka. Ebese ngisithi ngikhulumeke ngokubhaliswa kwabantu abakhethayo abokhetho. Ukuthi sifisa ukuthi kubuyele ku-register general. Thina sisakhula Msomlomo sasivele sikwazi ukuthi ukubhaliswa kwabantu abokhetho kwakusenziwa kobaba uMbele. Sasikwazi ukuthi register general yikho kubhaliswa khona. Kungani ngisitsho njalo? Abantu laba be-register general sebelobungcithi ngoba yibo abagcina ingwalo ezikhuluma ngumuntu. Ngadinge ngufake kamgcele. I-register general yibo ababhalisa ukuthi umuntu sezelwe i-birth certificate. Kuthi ngemva kwesikhathi bebhalisa ukuthi umuntu uselelungelo lokuthi ethathe isithupha. Lapho umuntu esefile futhi bayambhala ukuthi umuntu lo asekho emhlabeni. Ngokunjalo kuba lula ke ukuthi nxa bangathatha ukuthi bebhale futhi ngithi kubuyele ukuthi
Honorable Machango ususalelwe imizuzu emithathu ubana uqhiwe.
Ngiyabonga nami vele sengizagqiba kodwa ngibone ngigcizelele lapho ukuthi i-register general kumele ithathwe ukuthi bebhalisa abantu abazavota. Kuzaba lula ngoba kuzathi umuntu lapho esefikisa izinga lokuthi sele 18 years ukuthi selungele ukuvota bese bemthumela umlayezo ukuthi wena Zibanabanyana usungabuya ubhalise ukuthi usulelunga lokuvota ngoba usukwanisile 18 years. Uthi labo abasebesishile emhlabeni kungavele kuthathwe incwadi yokufa i-death certificate bese bemsuse futhi ku voters roll ukuthi hayi lo akasekho emhlabeni ngekho aselalungelo lokuvota. Lo uzasiza ukuthi singabili ukuthi abantu abavotayo abayizipoko abangekho emhlabeni kodwa ukuthi abavotile. Ebese ngiseqake ngiye kudaba lokuthi izinduna mina mbona zinelungelo ukuthi zikhethe sobala ukuthi bona basekela luphi uhlangothi ngoba lanxa singathi kumele bengatshengisi obala kodwa kusalayo izinduna ziyavota okutshengisa ukuthi izinduna vele zingama politicians. Izinduna vele ziyavota lanxa ngoba ziyangena emlalini ukuthi lapha ziyavota. Okunye konke nje ngivumelana lakho bese ngisithi ke i-delimitation commission hayi kayimiswe sibili izalungisa iqoqe ukuthi ingcele ibekwe kanjani. Kwesinye isikhathi imingcele sila emakhaya ngale yayenziwa ngabantu hleze bengaqeqeshanga. Uzabona ukuthi omunye umuntu uzabe ehlala ngapha kumngcele okuthiwa ngoka-B kodwa ubona usobhuku wakhe eku-A ugcina abangisebelisana ukuthi wena awuselalungelo lokuthi uthole ezinye izifanelo ngapha ngoba nawukho kumngcelo wethu ngoba wena ukumngcelo ka-A ubuthi imngcele ka-B. So ngokunjalo nxa kungafaka abantu abaqeqeshileyo ukuthi imngcele leyo beyenze ngokubaluleka nangobunono obukhulu kuzenza ukuthi izinto zethu zibe lula. Okunye msomlolo ngiyakusekela kakhulu ukuthi ngabe kwenziwe konke kakhulu ukuthi abasekeli bakamongameli okukhanya ngani ukhona omunye angade ngani uphezulu komunye ongani usenior kulomunye kodwa nxa kungasuswa lokhana kuzatshengisa ukuthi hayi umsekeli ngumsekeli akula ukuthi omunye ngani ubalekile kulomunye. Hayi ngokunjalo lami ngithi hayi ngiyabonga unika leli thuba ngoba lezi zinguquko lezi zizayenza ukuthi ilizwe lethu lithuthuke, ilizwe lethu libe lokuzinza, ilizwe lethu ukuthi lalabo abafisa ukuzovundeka imali zabo esingathi ngama-investors bebona ukuthi imali zabo azazivundeka ngesikhathi esifaneleyo. I-7 years isikhathi esithi ukuthi umuntu uma evundeka imali yakhe layo uzathola isivuno esihle. Ngiyabonga.
Sesitshayele isikhathi sakho. The next honorable member to take the floor is Honorable Mguni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
What a point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm just worried about the composition of this parliament. The sharing, it is actually the speakers. We are actually 3:1. So I believe that ratio should be used for a fair time to debate for everyone. Because with the 2-1, I don't think it is a proper ratio. Thank you, Honorable.
Order. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. I think that issue that you are bringing up, honorable member, is only good enough if it is brought to your chief whip and it becomes administrative. Thank you.
Chair,
Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, sir, on a point of privilege, we can bring this house to disrepute for not being able to calculate maths correctly. If we allow it to be referred, 2 out of 3 means 2/3 is yours, 1/3 is ours. So you get 2 shares, we get 1 share. It cannot be anything else. I submit.
What did he say? What did he say?
Order, order, order. Order! It's not a matter of debate. I think we've passed that. Honorable Mngoni, please carry on with your debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise on this bill because I'm sent by the women of Bulawayo that I represent. The women of Bulawayo are saying sometimes change is inevitable. But on that note, they are wondering whether this bill will bring them more suffering or it shall bring them peace. Mr. Speaker, I want to say something about myself before I continue. Mr. Speaker, say, I've worked before I came to Parliament as a nurse and a midwife. And before I came to Parliament, I sat at the bedside of these women in Bulawayo who had been through things that no constitutional document fully captures, like violence, dispossession, silence, and Mr. Speaker, because of that, the women of Bulawayo say they need visibility. They need a door where they can find people, where they can find someone who can help them. And looking at my concern, Mr. Speaker, say is the gender mandate. This bill removes the Zimbabwe Gender Commission from the Constitution. The rationale offered is institutional rationalization. The functions can be absorbed into Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. And the founding commitments to equality and non-discrimination survive untouched. I accept some of those points, but the rights remain on paper. That is not the rights remain on paper only. My dispute with what happens between paper and the women, for example, in Cowdrey Park, in Pumula and in Kulmane and Geta, does not...
Order, Honorable Mngoni. Honorable members, please, can you lower your whispering voices? They are becoming too high and drowning the current member who is on the floor. Let's keep our voices down. Honorable Mngoni, you can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I was saying, my dispute is with what happens between the paper and the woman in Cowdrey Park, in Kulumane, in Geta, for example. It does not begin with her engagement with the state for a constitutional diagram. She begins from a lived problem. Mr. Speaker, the transferred mandate will be constitutional. The transferred mandate will not merely be a statutory. The same independent is not guaranteed that it will protect every woman in Bulawayo. What is not coherent on paper is how this mandate will be protected from the thing that quietly kills constitutional commitments. Here is what the bill does not do. It does not create a dedicated gender commissioner. It does not fence a budget line for the gender mandate. It does not require specialist investigators trained in gender-based discrimination. It does not mandate provincial gender desks so that a woman in Kai or Pinga or Cholocho can reach to Parliament, can reach the institution without traveling to Harare or Bulawayo. It does not establish a reporting line annual to Parliament specific to the gender mandate. In my experience, Mr. Speaker, as a nurse, I have watched what happens when a responsibility is assigned without the architect to carry. What is told, it now covers maternity as well as pediatrics. No additional beds, no additional staff, no additional drugs. The women organizations that appeared before Parliament were not theorists. They were people who have tried to use these institutions. The Masvingo Women Rights Advocacy Group said plainly that these proposals would strip the Commission of its independence, its expertise, and its dedicated funding. Those are not up. Then I also, Mr. Speaker, say, ask the Minister I'm saying, my second concern, Mr. Speaker, begins where the Minister, he is right about something important. The 2013 Constitution did not establish National Peace and Reconciliation Commission as a permanent institution. The Constitution gave it a 10-year life. The architects knew it was transitional. The bill does not invent that expired. It reflects it on that reading. The Minister is on a solid ground, and I will not, sorry. But knowing that the institution was temporal does not tell us whether the work it was created to do is finished. Those are two different, that's a different question. And I ask the Honorable House should not allow the first to swallow the second. The Constitution's founding commitment to national unity, peace and reconciliation, which this bill leaves untouched, is not a 10-year obligation. It does not expire with the Commission. So what this bill truly puts before the Honorable House is not a technical question about constitutional lifespan. It is a political and moral question. When the institution ends, where does the duty go to? The bill removes the Peace and Reconciliation Commission from the Constitution, and as it stands, it does not say what comes next. The Zimbabwe Catholic Bishops Conference and the Zimbabwe Council of Churches have both raised this in their submissions, and I associate myself with them. Let me speak to what what this means away from the constitutional text. I have sat in rooms in Matebeleland with families still carrying questions that no official process has answered. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know that the record shows the commission was operationalized in 2018. It held limited hearings. It produced no binding recommendations on Kukrawundi and no reparation framework. I do not dispute that record, but I draw the opposite conclusion from it. Mr. Speaker, I'm also conscious of the order granted by Justice Mafusire in 2019, which held that the commission should run an effective 10 years to the 5th of January 2028. That order was later contested and set aside on appeal, and I do not rest my case on it. I'm almost done. So before the Honorable House,
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Before the Honorable House passes this bill.
Mr. Speaker, can the Honorable Member be heard in total silence? Can you please protect the Honorable Member? Please ensure that those on your right-hand side observe the silence that is required in this House. Thank you.
Honorable Makumire.
Oh, sorry.
I see you have a desire for this chair, but you cannot macro-manage the chair. I spoke to that earlier on, and order. We are not answering each other here. I want to teach you one fundamental advantage of this chair. It is that I speak and you keep quiet. And when you speak, I keep quiet. We don't sing. Honorable members, please let's have Honorable Mguni head in silence. You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my position is this. I do not maybe completely oppose the bill on the ground that the commission must exist forever. It was not designed to. I question it because constitutional expiry and national abandonment are not the same thing. And this bill as drafted does not draw that distinct clearly enough for the people of Matebeleland to trust it. I'll conclude by saying, so before this Honorable House passes this bill, because the people of, the women of Bulawayo do agree that change sometimes is inevitable, but it's always best maybe to raise your concerns. I asked the minister one question, and asked it on behalf of families like in Cholocho, Lupani, Ngai, Pinga, etc., who have waited years for an answer. When the Peace and the Reconciliation Commission is removed from the Constitution, what exact successor mechanism will the government establish? With that mandate on what timeline, with what budget, with what provincial presence, and with what specific authority. And I thank you.
You have 1 minute 30 seconds to finish. You may continue for 1 minute, 30 seconds. Are you done?
I was almost done. It was maybe just one last sentence.
Okay, go ahead.
That was saying, with what mandate, on what timeline, with what budget, with what a provincial presence, and with what specific authority to address Kukuraund, so that the end of this commission does not become the end of the state's commitment to the people that it was created for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. The next honorable member to take the floor is Honorable Pinduka.
Of privilege, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, what is your point?
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I am very worried with the list that we are reading, the list that contains debaters. I am personally suspecting that our Chief Whip C possibly are being bullied to the extent that when they submit the list, it is being rearranged. And because we had many occasions, and I know they are reasonable enough, they are good people who cannot rearrange the names that would have submitted to them. So I was thinking we revert back to a situation where we submit two lists, one list from that side, the list that is submitted by our Chief Whip will stand alone. I stand guided, Mr. Speaker, so that we maintain the integrity of this House.
A second. Honorable Amauswa, when the Speaker was in this chair earlier on today, I think in response to Honorable Gumbo's inquiries, you clearly stated that everybody in this House shall have a chance to debate, whether they are in this list or not. So I don't think you have any worries at all. You are going to be allowed to have your chance to air your voice to this matter. So it is a done deal. You don't need to worry about that.
Speaker say it's a perpetual worry because it has been happening. So I was suggesting let's separate the list as we are separated by our political parties. I am not ZANU-PF, they are not Triple C. Let's have the list that reflects the composition of this House.
Order, Honorable Ramauswa. You are going to discuss that with your Chief Whip outside this House. 1, 2. The Chief Whip brings his list from your side, and the Chief Whip brings his list from their side, and they simply combine them. But we are not going to waste time on that. That is administrative. Let us carry on with our debates. Honorable Pinduka, please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to take the floor to debate this very important bill before us in this august House today. Mr. Speaker, the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, HB 1, 2026, is a bill, Mr. Speaker, that I can describe as pregnant with the multiple wishes of the people of Zimbabwe in their diversity. Mr. Speaker, shortened as Constitutional Amendment Bill CAB3. The bill, in fact, is responding to the evolving wishes of the people of Zimbabwe who are peaceful, progressive, patriotic, and ready to support the bill towards the realization of an upper middle income society by 2030 and beyond. Mr. Speaker, I rise not merely just to support the bill, but to rally support and commend the consistency and the continuity of policies being implemented by the able government of the Republic of Zimbabwe. As a youthful MP, Mr. Speaker, representing the aspirations of young people, across the nation, and in particular representing the people of Guruwe North constituency in Mashonaland Central Province, I am standing here, Mr. Speaker, representing and expressing the wishes of the people of Guruwe North constituency, and indeed in my own behalf, Mr. Speaker, as I debate to secure the prevailing consistency, continuity, stability, sovereignty, democratic maturity of our motherland Zimbabwe under the able leadership of His Excellency the President, Dr. Emerson Mnangagwa. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear from the outset. Being a member of parliament who went out to listen to the views of the public during the public hearings conducted from the end of March to early April 2026, the views of the majority of Zimbabweans across all provinces reflected the overwhelming will of the voice of the people. The people have spoken, Mr. Speaker, and their message is crystal clear that CAB3 should be enacted into law with the pride and honors rest upon us as members of this august house. Mr. Speaker, constitutions are not relics frozen in time. Constitutions is not a cast in stone document. It is rather an instrument of governance, a rule book for running the affairs of the country, and an instrument of legitimacy, giving authority and right to government of the day and its institutions to make the laws, with the august house being mandated to consult the public on their views pertaining to the bill in question, which was done to the book, and Honorable Jobo, the Honorable Chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, did justice to give an inspiring statistics that is over 540,000 consulted views, and out of 540,000 views, over 537,000 registering their consensus to support the bill and applauding Parliament for the job well done. Honorable Speaker, constitutions must evolve as nations evolve. It must adapt to challenges, and it must strengthen by Parliament. Mr. Speaker, across the continent and beyond, experience has shown that directly contested presidential elections, while democratic in form, often generate acute polarization, zero-sum political psychology, and social fragmentation, particularly in societies emerging from liberation histories, or concentrate political energy around personalities rather than programs encouraging adversarial mobilization with risk, destabilizing governance cohesion. Mr. Speaker, Clause 3's proposal that the President be elected by Parliament, the collective body of representatives chosen by the people, that is the Parliament of Zimbabwe, therefore seeks to recalibrate the execution selection away from polarization, national plebiscite towards institutional consensus building within the legislature. In this model, Mr. Speaker, sovereignty remains rooted in the electorate, but its expression is mediated through representative deliberation rather than direct personality-driven contestation, thereby moderating the destabilizing effects often associated with the winner-takes-all presidential races. Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary election of the head of state and government is neither novel nor undemocratic. It is a well-established constitutional mechanism within respected democratic systems. Over 36 countries in the Commonwealth Consortium, they are already utilizing this hybrid parliamentary election of the head of state and government. Mr. Speaker, coming closer home, in South Africa and in Botswana, Mr. Speaker, the president is elected by parliament under the constitutional order shaped for decades by the African National Congress in the case of South Africa, itself being a liberation movement that transitioned into governance while preserving democratic legitimacy. South Africa's democracy has not collapsed under this arrangement, Mr. Speaker said. Rather, executive authority remains structurally accountable to National Assembly, which possesses the constitutional power to elect, oversee, and where necessary, remove the president. This demonstrates that parliamentary presidential selection can coexist within constitutionalism. Electoral competition and rights protection, reinforcing that democracy is defined not by the method of executive election alone, but by the broader architecture of accountability and representation. Mr. Speaker said, when a president's tenure depends on continuing confidence of Parliament, the executive is inherently bound to legislative scrutiny and national consensus. Policy direction must remain responsive to the parliamentary oversight, coalition dynamics, and representative debate, ensuring that governance reflects institutional will rather than personal mandate. This dependence strengthens checks and balances by embedding executive legitimacy within an ongoing relationship with elected representatives, rather than a single electoral event separated from the subsequent legislative accountability. The executive cannot ignore the legislature because its authority is constitutionally derived from it. Thus, accountability operates continuously rather than episodically. Such a system depends on democratic maturity by aligning executive action with representative governance, reinforcing the principle that national authority is exercised through institutions rather than concentrated on individuals. Mr. Speaker said, we must therefore resist the romanticization of electoral models that elevate personalities into singular national symbols while weakening institutional depth. Systems centered on direct presidential charisma can foster personality cult politics, destabilizing norms and diminishing the role of representative bodies. By contrast, electing the president through parliament elevates institutions above individuals, normalizes leadership transition within constitutional procedure, and anchors political legitimacy in collective structures. Mr. Speaker, I'll move to the term of office, duration, and parliament, as well as timing of elections. Honorable Speaker, 5 years passes quickly like a short season. A shorter season may be characterized by hunger and food insecurity. A longer season, Mr. Speaker, is inclusive and accommodative of all variety of crops. The same with longer terms of office like the 7-year proposed term in Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. It's a longer season that characterizes bumper harvesting. By the time policies are formulated, budgets are approved, projects initiated, the next election cycle begins. This toxicity associated with elections should be tamed out, Mr. Speaker said. We cannot build dams, smart highways, establishment of economic zones and industrial corridors, or modern agricultural systems on 5-year political mandate. That is, it limits the opportunity for accelerated development. In support of the 7-year term, I wish to submit my 4-point plan, Mr. Speaker. Number 1, reduces campaign hysteria. Extending the term length of office for the president, Mr. Speaker, allows members of parliament and local authorities mandate to 7 years would substantially temper the cycle of near-permanent campaigning that often characterizes shorter electoral intervals in the Republic of Zimbabwe. When elections recur frequently, political actors are incentivized to remain in mobilization mode, amplifying rhetoric, polarizing constituencies, and prioritizing electoral positioning over governance delivery. This perpetual campaign atmosphere heightens political temperature, strains administrative focus, and diverts national discourse from development to contestation. A longer electoral horizon, Mr. Speaker, reduces immediacy of political survival pressures, allowing representatives and leaders to govern rather than campaign, institutions to function without partisan turbulence, and citizens to engage in national issues outside the charged lens of imminent elections. In this way, the 7-year term moderates political volatility by structurally lowering the frequency and intensity of electoral mobilization. Mr. Speaker, say, point number 2, it reduces national tension. Mr. Speaker, say, point number 3, it promotes long-term planning. Point number 4, Mr. Speaker, say, encourages policy, consistency, continuity, and stability. Mr. Speaker, say, I will move on to clause 11, 12, and 13. Honorable Speaker, the restructuring of electoral administration proposed in this constitutional amendment bill number 3, grounded not in the pursuit of control, but in the pursuit of institutional clarity, efficiency, and credibility. Electoral governance is a complex national function encompassing voter registration, boundary delimitation, election management, and result administration, each requiring a distinct technical expertise and procedural single body. Risk of overload, duplication, and operational capacity can arise, potentially weakening public confidence. By recalibrating institutional responsibilities through Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, Zimbabwe seeks to ensure that each electoral function is executed by a body structurally designed and resourced for that specific mandate. Such differentiation, Mr. Speaker said, reflects a mature constitutional design. Institutions are not multiplied arbitrarily, but aligned with the functional coherence so that electoral processes remain transparent, professional, and publicly trusted. Honorable Speaker, Zimbabwe's constitutional evolution must also be understood within the historical arc of liberation movement that transformed from forces of independence into custodians of state and nationhood. The nation was not born in negotiation chambers, but through sacrifice, solidarity, and struggle, and that legacy carries a responsibility to balance freedom with stability in governance design. Across the continent, countries, like I've alluded to in the paragraph that I have referred to above, Mr. Speaker said, constitutional systems over time need to be recalibrated to protect sovereignty, unity, and national development, while consolidating post-liberation state institutions.
Order.
Zimbabwe stands within the
Order.
shared historical
You have 4
reforms.
minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Said. The Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 is about stability over chaos, institutions over individuals, long-term development over short-term politics, efficiency over duplication. We must not allow emotions to derail structural reform. History will judge us whether we chose stagnation or progress. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker said, today in history we choose progress. I therefore call upon honorable members of this august House to support the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, HB 1/2026, in the spirit of national and democratic evolution. Mr. Speaker said, thank you so much for the opportunity to debate on this bill. I so support.
Thank you. The next honorable member to take the floor is Honorable A. Danzi.
Thank you for granting me this opportunity to add my voice in support of the report moved by Honorable Zimwaves. Firstly, allow me to express my appreciation to the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Zimwaves, for bringing before this House the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment number 3, Bill 2026, a job well done. Mr. Speaker said, as a representative of the women of Masvingo province, I rise to support this bill, particularly the provisions relating to the election of the president by Parliament, the transfer of voter registration functions to the Registrar General, the extension of the electoral cycle from 5 to 7 years, and the expansion of the jurisdiction of the Constitutional Court. These reforms seek to strengthen governance, improve institutional efficiency, and create a stable environment necessary for suitable national development. Mr. Speaker, I support the proposal that the President be elected by members of Parliament sitting in a joint session, because Parliament is composed of representatives elected by citizens from every constituency and province of Zimbabwe. This ensures that the election of the president remains rooted in the democratic will of the people through their elected representatives, while promoting accountability, consensus building, and collective responsibility in national leadership. I also welcome the transfer of the voter registration, completion, and maintenance of the voters' roll to the Registrar General, who is already the custodian of national registration records and civil documentation. Consolidating these responsibilities under one institution will improve efficiency, strengthen records management, and enhance public confidence in the administration of the electoral process. The women of Masvingo province, whom I have the honor to represent in this house, have expressed strong support for the proposed extension of the electoral cycle from 5 to 7 years. During my interactions with communities across the province, many citizens have indicated that development programs require adequate time to mature and deliver meaningful results. I have also taken note of the sentiments from several church leaders and congregants who view their number 7 as a symbolic of completion, fulfillment, and maturity. These views are particularly significant in Masvingo, which is home to one of the country's largest faith communities under the leadership of Bishop N. Mutendi from the Zion Christian Church. Many community members believe that a 7-year cycle would allow government programs, infrastructure projects, and economic empowerment initiatives to be completed without the disruptions that often accompany.
Order, Honorable Danzi. Why don't we allow Honorable Danzi to be heard in silence? Honorable members, please. She is making a contribution, and it's only fair that we allow her to be heard in silence, please. Can we have that mutual respect? Honorable members, please. We don't want to start mentioning people by names. It's not correct. Honorable Danzi, please, may you continue. And can you be heard in silence?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I was saying, many community members believe that a 7-year cycle would allow government programs, infrastructure projects, and economic empowerment initiatives to be completed without the disruption that often accompany frequent election periods. Mr. Speaker, I also welcome the proposal expanding the jurisdiction of the Constitutional Court to hear matters that raise important points of law affecting the public. Strong institutions are fundamental to democracy, development, and social stability. This amendment strengthens access to justice, promotes legal certainty, and enhances public confidence in our constitutional institutions. The women of Masvingo province, whom I have the honor to represent, believe that leadership must be judged not only by the promises it makes, but by the projects it completes and the lives it transforms. Whether it is empowering women, improving agriculture productivity, strengthening healthcare systems, expanding access to education, or development critical infrastructure, meaningful transformation requires time, constance, and commitment. As I conclude, I am reminded of a profound statement from the President of the Republic of China, His Excellency Xi Jinping, that says, I quote, "Every generation has its own long march, and every generation must see that march throughout." Mr. Speaker said, our generation's march is the march towards Vision 2030, prosperity, modernization, and improved livelihoods for all Zimbabweans. We have a duty to see that march throughout to its conclusion, CAB3. It is for that reason I support this bill and recommend before this August House. I thank you.
Thank you. The next honourable member to take the floor. Order. Order, honourable members. The next honourable member to take the floor is Honourable Nyandoro, B. Nyandoro.
Honourable Speaker, there's been change to that regard. I thought you had been appraised in my place as coming Honourable Makombe. My sincere apologies for that.
Nothing was communicated to that effect. You were saying? Sorry?
In my place, it was supposed to be Honourable Makombe.
Honourable Makombe?
Yes.
Okay, but the chief whip did not come and do the appraisal.
Our sincere apologies, Honourable Chair. I think it was just a glitch of a miscommunication.
Okay, just one moment. Right, thank you. It's been verified. So the next honourable member to take the floor is Honourable Makombe.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honourable Makombe, you want to sneak into the debate? you shall have to wait for your turn. Honourable Makombe, please take the floor.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, order. Honourable members, shall I remind you of the standing orders that we have? When a member is on the floor, all other members must be seated. Let's limit movements so that we maintain decorum of the House. Honourable Makombe, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, for affording the opportunity to air my voice on this very important bill. Mr. Speaker, change by nature is not something that is easily acceptable, and always you find out that there will be different views. The bill before us has got its own advantages and disadvantages. The people we represent expect us to come up with a true reflection of what they want. Hence my contributions are from those that I represent in this House. Mr. Speaker, I understand that according to our rules in this House, we are not supposed to repeat on some of the things that would have been said by other honourable members. I therefore shall concentrate on three issues. The first one, Mr. Speaker, has to do with voter registration. From what has been happening previously, ZEC has not been doing a good job when it comes to voter registration. In most cases, the process of registering voters was another way of rigging, where the registration was being suppressed in areas where it was deemed to be stronghold of the opposition. And because of that, I think if we take the voter registration to the Registrar General's office, where registration would automatically take place as soon as someone turns 18 years, and remove the deceased once it's registered in their offices. I want to believe that once a voter is registered at 18 years, it will be up to the voter maybe to change the constituents of what. So I strongly support this proposal. Mr. Speaker, I want to touch on the issue of chiefs. Mr. Speaker, I come from a chieftainship set up in my area, and we enjoy a lot of respect from our subjects. Most of the times, wherever there are elections, as we all know that politics is a dirty game, we always want to try and bring each other down. And I don't think this will be befitting to our chiefs if they participate openly in partisan politics. Their office is a lifetime office. They can't show that lifetime office due to an office that has got which is temporal. So I want to believe that let's leave our chiefs to do whatever they are doing. What I can only urge is for government to uplift their welfare, not to get into politics. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is about the Gender Commission. I want to believe most women have been happy to have this commission in place because there are some successes that has been recorded when the commission was in place. Issues that deals with gender violence, the issue of upliftment of women. These are some of the things that our women are proud of when they talk of the Gender Commission. So in that regard, I want to strongly oppose the removal of Gender Commission from its current setup. I want to believe that our women, even those that are in here in this house, would want the Gender Commission to remain as it is. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next honorable member to take the floor is Honorable Mutandi, G. Mutandi.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Good afternoon.
I rise today to respectively and firmly express my support for Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, particularly the provisions contained in Clause 4 on the extension of the presidential term and Clause 11 on the establishment of the Zimbabwe Electoral Delimitation Commission. At the same time, I must register my concern regarding Clause 18, which proposes the dissolution of the Zimbabwe Gender Commission and its absorption in the Human Rights Commission. My position is grounded in constitutional order and national development. Contrary to some schools of thought, this amendment does not violate the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Section 91 clearly sets out the qualifications and limits of presidential tenure, and CAB3 does not seek to add terms of office. Rather, it proposes to extend the duration of a single term by 2 years. This distinction is critical. The intent of the Constitution to prevent indefinite rule remains
intact, while the adjustment provides continuity in leadership and policy execution necessary for long-term national progress. Development is not an event. It is a process that requires stability, predictability, and sustained leadership. Frequent elections disrupt this process. When the nation is in perpetual election mode, governance is distracted, society becomes divided along partisan lines, and projects lose momentum. Extending the presidential term creates a longer, stable window for government and communities to work together toward common goals without recurring interruptions. It fosters unity and allows development to transcend party politics. Moreover, elections are costly. They divert scarce resources from services delivery and infrastructure. Zimbabwe is recovering from the impact of illegal sanctions, and every dollar must be channeled towards development. Frequent electoral cycles result in projects being abandoned midstream, wasting public funds and leaving citizens with unmet expectations. An extended term ensures value for money, accountability, and completion of projects. This proposal also strengthens the social contact between legislators and the people. Citizens vote for members of parliament with the expectation that will deliver tangible results, which are roads, clinics, schools, and other infrastructure. Term extensions allow the nations to consolidate the gains from NDS-1 as we transition into NDS-2 in pursuit of Vision 2030 towards an upper middle class society. In my province of Manicaland, several projects are underway but remain unfinished. Extending the presidential term provides the continuity needed to complete these projects, ensuring that communities benefit from investments already made. It is about honoring the trust placed in us by the electorate. In addition, the bill also addresses the issue of delimitation, which is governed by Section 161 of the Constitution. Clause 2 seeks to improve this process by ensuring that delimitations are conducted in an orderly, credible, and transparent manner by a specialized entity. Rushed or poorly executed delimitation creates boundary disputes, voter confusion, and contested results. Honorable Speaker said, a dedicated electoral delimitation commission is vital for electoral integrity. When boundaries are clear and credible, public confidence in the electoral process grows. Citizens engage more fully, knowing their votes are secure and their representation is fair. Conversely, when people doubt the process, they disengage, weakening democracy. By supporting this clause, we protect the legitimacy of our elections and strengthen Parliament's ability to deliver on its mandates. A credible delimitation process ensures that legislators can focus on development rather than disputes, fulfilling their social contract with the people. Last but not least, I must express my deep concern over Clause 18 of CAB3, which proposes to absorb the Zimbabwe Gender Commission into the Human Rights Commission. While the intention may be to streamline institutions, this move risks undoing decades of hard-won progress in advancing gender equality. The Gender Commission was established as a specialized body precisely because gender issues require dedicated expertise, focus, and visibility. To dismantle it now would not only weaken our ability to demand accountability across ministries and agencies, but also send a troubling signal that Zimbabwe is retreating from its commitments under international instruments such as CEDAW and the Beijing Platform for Action. These frameworks call for strong, high-level national machinery to champion women's rights, and our commission has been that beacon. Its removal would erode confidence among citizens and partners alike, portraying Zimbabwe as backsliding and on equality at a time when we should be consolidating gains. As chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women Affairs, Community, Small and Medium Enterprises Development, I cannot ignore the voices of women's organizations and members of the public who have consistently emphasized the need for a standalone institution. Their fears are valid. Without a specialized monitoring body, both public and private institutions could more easily evade accountability for gender-based discrimination. The Commission has been the watchdog ensuring that gender mainstreaming is not just rhetoric but practice, and its independence has given women across Zimbabwe a trusted avenue to seek redress. To fold it into a broader human rights framework risks diluting its mandates and silencing those voices. I therefore respectively urge this House to reconsider Clause 18 and to preserve the Zimbabwe Gender Commission as a distinct institution. In doing so, we affirm our commitment to protecting the dignity, rights, and aspirations of women and girls, and we safeguard Zimbabwe's reputation as a nation that honors its obligations and values equality as a cornerstone of its democracy. CAB3 is not about entrenching power. It is about entrenching development, unity, and credibility. As legislators, we are bound by our social contract with the people. They entrust us with their votes, expecting completed projects, improved services, and tangible progress. CAB3 provides the continuity and credibility needed to honor that contract. It consolidates the gains of NDS1, prepares us for NDS2, and moves us decisively toward Vision 2030. I therefore commend CAB3 to this House and urge all honorable members to support it. Let us choose continuity over disruption, completion over abandonment, and unity over division. In doing so, we affirm our collective responsibility to deliver results, champion gender equality and equity while strengthening democracy. I so submit.
Further debates, I call upon Honorable Mkomberi.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. And allow me to speak and add my voice also on Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Madam Speaker, ma'am, the Constitution of Zimbabwe provides a section, that is section 328, which is very clear to state that amendment of this constitution is possible. On subsection 1 of the same section, Madam Speaker, it is very clear, it defines a constitutional bill where it says, a constitutional bill is a bill that seeks to amend this constitution. And in this mildly honorable Speaker, ma'am, CAB3 is such a constitutional bill which seeks to amend the Constitution of Zimbabwe, but following the procedure outlined under section 328 of our Constitution. The same section clearly highlights under subsection 6, honorable Speaker, ma'am, on which items of the Constitution, if ever to be amended, shall require a referendum. And subsection 6 is quite explicit to say, where a constitutional bill seeks to amend the end provision of chapter 4, that is Declaration of Rights, chapter 16, agricultural land, such a bill should undergo a referendum. And also, this includes the attempt to amend section 328 in terms of the text, as it is that section which actually outlines how amendments are done. It is very clear, honorable Speaker, ma'am, that from the clauses contained in CAB3 on Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 and the proposed amendments thereof, that no amendment is intended to make any alteration on chapter 4, chapter 16, as well as Section 328. Thus, this amendment bill follows an amendment procedure which does not require a referendum at all, Honorable Speaker, ma'am. It was just a background to clear the claims of a referendum. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, allow me also to dive into some specific clauses and proposed amendments contained in this bill, which clearly unleash boldly transformational reforms that fortify constitutional governance, invigorate democratic institutions, sharpen institutional mandates, and seamlessly align Zimbabwe with the proven best practices from the world's most progressive nations. First and foremost, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, let me start by the proposed amendment of Section 92 as it is in Clause 2 of the bill. The amendment seeks to shift election of the President from direct popular vote to indirect parliamentary election, where the President is proposed to be elected by members of Parliament in joint session by absolute majority, being presided over by the Chief Justice in accordance with the standing orders. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, the rationale of this amendment is very clear. It draws from Zimbabwe's pre-1987 parliamentary tradition, and it really mirrors successful models in South Africa, Botswana, if you were to mention just a few in our region, and it is actually consistent with the position and best practice in 34 out of 56 Commonwealth countries. To that end, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, allow me to play with the figures a bit and analyze to say 34 countries in the Commonwealth, they use indirect election that we are proposing to also use. That is 60.7% of the Commonwealth countries, where only 20 of such countries in the Commonwealth use direct election. That is 35.7%, which is a minority percentage compared to those which use indirect election method, and 2 of them use absolute, they are actually absolute monarchies, that is without elections at all. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, from this analysis, it is very clear and undeniable reality that indirect election of the head of state through parliamentary processes is the settled norm across the Commonwealth, the very community that Zimbabwe is also striving to re-enter. This Commonwealth's proven norm, in part, is rooted in a representative democracy, parliamentary accountability, and indirect leadership selection, and it proves to offer a more stable future in the national interest. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, it must be noted that this shift from direct election of the President to indirect parliamentary election actually preserves adult suffrage as enshrined in the Constitution, that is Section 67. As one person, one vote contains only the entitlement to vote, not necessarily the electoral system used. It must be understood as well, Honorable Speaker, that the shift is fully consistent with Section 88, subsection 1 of the Constitution, which is very clear to say, executive authority derives from the people of Zimbabwe and must be exercised in accordance with this Constitution. To this end, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, executive authority will continue to derive from the people through their directly elected representatives, as was practiced from 1980 to 1990. And it must be noted also, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, that from purely fair and reasonable grounds, if Section 97 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe actually gives Parliament power to impeach the President, why can't the same Constitution be amended to close the gap and give the same Parliament power to elect the same? This is actually evidence of a clear constitutional gap that existed in the Constitution of Zimbabwe that now this bill is proposing to close. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, allow me to also dive into another progressive amendment as proposed by Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, as is under clause 3, which seeks to amend section 95 to actually lengthen the presidential election cycle from 5 years to 7 years. I think, Madam Speaker, ma'am, the misconception maybe lies on the word that is being used by people to say, to extend the length. If we are to extend the length, it seems as if we are only extending the current term. But we are talking about lengthening it and even applying in the future. Because if we are extending even a building, we only extend it once. But now when we're talking about lengthening, we're talking about something that is going to be used in the future to say it's now from 5 to 7 years. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, the rationale of this proposal is that it is consistent with the Constitution, as it does not alter the 2-term limit as spelled out in section 91 subsection 2. This addresses the damaging perpetual election mode that has caused political violence, endless electoral disputes, polarization of society, and massive economic losses during campaigns. So lengthening this period, we are saying we are now trying to curb all those problems that we face. Given our macroeconomic framework, Madam Speaker, ma'am, and the objectives, this amendment comes in the rightful time to enable better policy implementation, infrastructure development and implementation of National Development Strategy 2 to achieve Vision 2030 objectives, as well as the future peace and development of the country. Madam Speaker, ma'am, this bill, I mean in the current term, it will align our politics with economics. Politics alone does not bring food on the table, but economics is what brings food on the table. So we mean to say, if we are guided in terms of economic development, we are guided by Vision 2030 macroeconomic objectives, we mean to say to achieve this upper middle income society, we should have a stable macroeconomic environment, but a stable macroeconomic environment is supported by a stable political environment. So having elections any time before 2030 will actually disrupt the smooth running of economic policies that will enable us achieve the Vision 2030 that we are to achieve. So, constitutionally, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, the amendment does not touch term limit, but only term length, that is the election cycle, by adding 2 years to the 5 years that Section 95 rigidly states. In accordance with the provisions of Section 91, subsection 2, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, such 5 years can be adjusted either upwards or downwards as long as it falls within the minimum threshold of a term, that is, according to this subsection, 3 years or more is deemed a term, which means the or more part of this section does not limit the upper, does not give a ceiling to adjustment, but 3 years is the minimum. What does that mean? This is likened to an analog that I'm going to give you, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, that is of a truck company. Let me give an example of a truck company owner who fixes the daily work of each driver to 2 trips per day, but with a maximum, with a minimum mileage of 3 kilometers, but without maximum kilometers. One driver may finish daily work by traveling 2 trips, but of each 3 kilometers. That driver will be said to have completed the 2 trips, the daily work, but having traveled the total of 6 kilometers. But the other driver may finish daily work by 7 kilometers of each trip. That will give 14 kilometers. Both the drivers, Honorable Speaker, You have traveled 2 trips, but different mileages. This, thus, to this extent, when we are
Honorable members, order. Honorable members on my left. Honorable Makumire, may you allow Honorable Makumberi to be heard in silence. Honorable Makumberi may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, ma'am. As I mentioned, that this is an example that will make some people understand you better. I'm just schooling some of my honorable members here. That when...
Order. Honorable Makumire and Honorable Madziwanyika.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
May you allow Honorable Mkomberi to be heard in silence.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker. It's here, over here, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Mkomberi. What's your point of order, Honorable Mchikumbu?
Honorable Mkomberi vanyasotaura zvatinonzwa because tauya kuzoteerera panapa vari kutikanganisa pamatauro avari kuita vari kungopesanisa zvinhu vakutoti confuse.
You're out of order, Honorable Chikumbu. Honorable Mkomberi is very clear in his debate. Honorable Mkomberi, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, ma'am. What I'm doing here, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, is to try and make those who are confused understand. But if they don't want to understand what I'm saying here,
point of order. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order, Madam Speaker. I have a point of order.
Order. What's your point of order, Honorable Makumire?
Madam Speaker, there is no honorable member in this house who is confused. The honorable member must debate with respect. We are going to 100,000.
Out of order, Honorable Makumire. Honorable Makumire, you're out of order. Honorable Makumire, you're out of order. Honorable Mkomberi, may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, ma'am. Let me just proceed for the sake of progress. So what I've been explaining, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, is that extending the length of a single term to 7 years, in this case, does not mean an additional term, but simply increasing the mileage of a single term. The third item that I want to touch on, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, that is actually linked to this one, is clause 7, which is proposing to amend section 143 of the Constitution that is trying to align Parliament's election cycle with the new 7-year presidential cycle to eliminate the structural cause of perpetual electioneering, the scourge of electoral disputes, to enable sustainable governance, long-term infrastructure development, as well as social progress. Clause 8 also, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, is only supported.
Order. I'm my chair, left. I'm the chair. Honorable Mkomberi, you're left with 5 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, ma'am. I've been saying clause 8 is also closely linked to this one, to also extend the length of term of councillors is guided by section 158. Another progressive amendment, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, that I want also to unequivocally support is under clause 12, which seeks to transfer responsibility for voter registration and maintenance of the voters' roll to the Registrar General's office. This builds on the improved capacities of the Registrar General's office in the biodata management and security, as well as successful innovation of small polling station specific roles that enhance electoral integrity and public confidence. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, the proposal under clause 9 is also very progressive, as this established an independent Zimbabwe Electoral Delimitation Commission in Chapter 7 to handle boundary delimitation impartially and transparently while freeing ZEC to focus on organization of conduct of elections in order to foster public trust in the country's electoral processes, to eliminate the scourge of disputed elections and societal polarization. Honorable Speaker, given the foregoing analysis, it is very clear that this bill in question modernizes and streamlines our constitutional architecture as a country, while at the same time faithfully upholding the enduring values enshrined in the 2013 Constitution. The bill, Honorable Speaker, contains the amendments that mark a decisive leap in Zimbabwe's constitutional evolution, a confident strategic refinement of the governance structures that champions institutional efficiency, political inclusivity, and unbreakable long-term national stability. And to this end, my Honorable Speaker, let me conclude by saying CAB3 proudly positions Zimbabwe alongside Africa's most effective, resilient, and widely respected constitutional standards, the models that have been proven to consistently deliver progress, harmony, and lasting economic success. Honorable Speaker, with these submissions, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further debates, I call upon Honorable Mureyani.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Good afternoon. I rise to add my voice on the Constitutional Amendment Bill report that was tabled in this House by the Honorable Chairperson of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs after public hearings were conducted nationwide. In relation to Clause 2, Madam Speaker, which speaks about voters' roll transfer, returning the voters' roll and voter registration to the Civil Registration Department eliminates duplication. The Registrar General already holds our birth and death records. This ensures deceased individuals are decisively removed, freeing ZEC to focus solely on managing elections. On Clause 3, Madam Speaker, the amendment establishes a parliamentary method for selecting the president. Direct presidential elections have historically bred political tension, violence, and fiscal exhaustion. Electing the president, Madam Speaker, through Parliament is a model successfully used by our neighbors in South Africa and Botswana.
Point of order, Madam
Order. Order. Honorable members on my left and honorable members on my right.
Point of order.
Order.
Point of order.
May we have order in the House?
A point of order.
Order, honorable members.
Point of order.
Honorable Kumbo. Honorable Kumbo.
I don't.
Honorable Kumba. Order!
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order! May we have order in the House?
Point of order.
I'm going to count 1 up to 3. Whoever is standing is going to walk out of the House. Yes. Order, Honorable Kumbo. May you put yourself to order. I'm going to ask you to leave this House. May you allow Honorable Mreyani to be heard in silence. Everyone was debating and everyone has been given a chance to debate. You are going to get your own chance to air your views. May we have order in this House?
Get out.
Order, I want to see Honorable Mureyani only. She's the only one who's supposed to be standing.
Yes.
May we have order?
Yes.
Order, Honorable Makumira, I never asked you to assist me. Honorable Madzivanyika. And now kukukumbira ekuti mundibatsire kucheya. Order, may we have order? Honorable members on my right, may you please take your seats? Honorable members on my left. Order! Honorable Kachwaya, you may leave.
Budai Banse, Budai.
Get out. Everyone who is standing, leave the house. Budai, get out. Honorable members on my left, where's our camera? Ngabude mouth.
Wabewa ngabude.
Yes. Ngabude. Honorable Mreyani, you may proceed. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. I will repeat myself due to the chaos that was in this house. On clause 3, Madam Speaker, ma'am, the amendment establishes a parliamentary method for selecting the president. Direct presidential elections have historically bred political tension, violence, and fiscal exhaustion. Electing the president, Madam Speaker, through parliament is a model successfully used by our
Point of order.
in South Africa
Point of order.
Botswana. It drastically
Point of
reduces
order.
election.
Order. This, what's your point of order?
We cannot hear properly. There are still people who are standing there. You have made a ruling that if there's a person who's still standing, he should walk out of the room. So I see there are more than 10 people who are still standing on the other side of the house.
I've heard you. You may take your seat. Honorable members on my right, may you allow the honorable member debating to be heard in silence. Honorable Mreyani, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ma'am. Electing the president, Madam Speaker, through parliament is a model successfully used by our neighbors in South Africa and Botswana. It drastically reduces election costs and fosters harmony between the executive and legislature. If parliament has the power to impeach, it only makes sense that it has the power to. However, Madam Speaker, ma'am, the clause does not speak on the issue of strengthening accountability mechanisms. The president should be subject to mandatory times of accountability to parliament. Moving on to the 7-year term, Madam Speaker, ma'am, which is on clause 4, 9, and 10. 5 years is simply too short. Major developmental projects require stability.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order.
Point of order.
Order.
Point of order.
Order, Honorable Mreyani. What's your point of order, Honorable Kumbo?
Yeah, her time is up.
Honorable Gumbo.
Her time is up.
Order, Honorable Gumbo.
Her time is up.
Honorable Gumbo.
Can you add more 30 minutes?
Order. Honorable Gumbo. 10 minutes. Honorable Gumbo, we are not here to play games.
Yeah, it's not a game.
Yes, I'm not playing games with you. We are here for serious business. May you take back your seat?
Our time is up.
Honorable Gumbo, Manguri Manyanya Kutsika. Honorable Mreyani, you may proceed.
5 years, Madam Speaker, is simply too short. Major developmental projects require stability. A 7-year cycle stops the perpetual campaign mode that slows our economy down every 5 years. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to focus on the repeal of the Gender Commission as proposed by the bill. The repeal of the Gender Commission will lead to gender blindness and violate international obligations like the Beijing Platform for Action. The Zimbabwe Gender Commission only takes up to 0.02% to 0.04% of the national budget. Zimbabwe has been a champion of gender equality in the region due to its constitution. This move would likely result in reputational damage, portraying the country as backsliding on gender equality. Preserving the Zimbabwe Gender Commission ensures dedicated advocacy for gender issues and compliance with both national and international commitments to gender equality and human rights. As a signatory to several international treaties that specifically establish specialized institutions to eliminate discrimination against women and promote gender equality, Zimbabwe has an obligation to continue supporting the existence of an independent body that promotes gender equality and women's empowerment. Madam Speaker, the proposed amendment risks dismantling the progress made towards a gender-just society. Transferring these duties to Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission presents a strategic risk given its already broad and demanding portfolio. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission's institutional bandwidth may be stretched too thin to provide the thorough oversight gender reforms demand and which the Gender Commission has been providing. Without a dedicated body, we face the danger of gender blindness, where the specific needs of women and girls are overshadowed by broader human rights concerns. Madam Speaker, ma'am, a merged overworked commission might struggle to meet the independent criteria and address the gender equality issues effectively. Therefore, I strongly recommend that the Zimbabwe Gender Commission remains a standalone institution. I so submit.
Further debates. I call upon Honorable Mapiki.
Vaita basa ambato echigaro nekundipawo mukana wakadai wokuti nditaure. Ndoda kufara nemukana wamandipa. Ndokumbira kuti mundidziirirewo. Mukana wamandipa unofadza nekuti vanhu pavakaenda kuhondo ndo zvavairwira kuti vakwanise kunyora zvinhu zvavo kwete zvinonyorwa nevamwe. Saka ndinoda kufara, ndoda kutenda hurumende yavaMnangagwa nekutarisa zvido zvevanhu, nokuti vakaenda kumaruwa vakabvunza, vakaenda mumataundi vakabvunza, vanhu vakataura zvavanoda. Saka utongo hwakadaro ndo hwatairwirawo, ndo hwakati vanhu vabereki vedu novakoma vedu kuti hunge huripo, kuti vanhu vakawanda vataure zvavanokwanisa kuita. Zvakadaro mubati wechigaro, ini ndinotsigira zvine simba bhiru yauya iyi yavari kuti CAB3 ndikuitsigira chaizvo. Chokutanga chandikunyanya kutsigira ndochokuti paramendi, makanzuru napurezidendi papuwe dzimwe makore maviri kuti vashande. Vazhinji vanobvunza kuti kosei amai vangu vaitonditi kana bhoro risina kufa rinogadzirirwei, kana mota isina kufa munoenderei nayo kugaraji nezvipanera vanhu vaida kugadzira. Madii kungoiregera yakadaro ifambe yakadaro. Mubati wechigaro, maelections anorwadza uye anodaidza mari yakawanda. Regai ndimbokutaurirai kuti 2013 420 million yakashandiswa nezeki kuti maelections aitwe. 2018 wakapa maestimate okuti 200 to 300 million yokuti maelections aitwe. 2023 188 million pamazigi yanga iri 680 billion. Saka maelections anorwadza. Ndaitaura nemadona, alright, maelections ndaitaura mbati wechigaro, ndaitaura nemadona ari kupa mari kumapato anopikisa. Vaitaura kuti maelections arwadza nokuti mari dzatiri kupa kuvanhu vari kupikisa hurumende dzikuzopedzisira vanhu vakurowana vega vega. Shuwa ndakazoonawo pakarohwa mumwe honorable wechikadzi, mumwe futi honorable wechikadzi akamona akabhandija ruoko arohwa vachirowana vega vega kurowanana mari idzodzo. Saka zvinoita kuti vanhu vese vanosara vasina kuwirirana vakapatsurana patsurana. Zvoshuwa zvinhu izvozvo mubati wechigaro kana 1980 pandakambobvunzawo wainzi Muzoriwa waitungamirira UANC kana kuti Dzakutsaku. Mushure mekunge wadyiwa wakataura kuti mwanangu maelections anorwadza nokuti wakanga watengera vanhu mamota ainzi ma404 nema504 nokupa mabhasikoro pamwe chete nokupegera vanhu mastands kuGrenville 3 asi wakarakashwa. Pawakarakashwa waita ma63 ndo pakataura kuti mwanangu maelections anorwadza. Darega kusimbawo achidzokororwa. Saka ndaifunga kuti aiwa temu yokunzi ngaiextendwe. Kunonzi kuextenda hazvina kunzi matemu mairi asi dai kwanzi makore mairi ari kuwedzerwa taiti aiwa anenge amatemu mairi asi zvangonzi chete kana bhurugwa riri diki unongoti waiwa wedzerai kamupendero kacho kuti rimwe rinoti kwanei kwete kuti unenge wana mabhurugwa mairi. Mubati wechigaro kana bhodhoro rehwahwa radzika rapasi ukanzi vanhu vachingoti ndiriwo mbichana hazvina kunzi wapuhwa rimwe doro bhodhoro aiwa vari kungowedzera bhodhoro hwanga hurimo. Saka ndiri kutaura kuti nyaya yanzi aiwa wedzerai chete hazvina kumbonzi itai makore mamwe matemu mairi vanzi wedzerai chete. Ndofunga munoti nemagweta nevamwe vanoziva zvemutemo vanogona kuravarava. Ndaifunga kuti manzwi iyayo atarise kuti kuwedzera kwete kunzi waanochi kana ndikanzi mbunda sabhuku isa 2 meters uchirima uko handina kupuhwa minda miviri ndangonzi wedzera. Saka ndaifunga kuti nyaya iyi inofanira kuti itariswe. Imwe nyaya yechipiri yanzi president vanofanira kusarudzwa neparliament. Nyaya iyi yakanaka chaizvo ndinoisigira nekuti patakaona panyaya yemaelections a2023 takaona vanhu vakawanda vachida kuita upresident vanenge vaikanga vari kumatworufu vainziwo vana muteki vana madhuku nevamwe vakadaro. Vanhu ava pavakanga vadyiwa vakabva vachigati joinei inonzi porad. Asi ukaona kuti ko vanhu ivava dai vakangonzi vanhu ngavasarudzwe muparamendi vanhu ivava vakanga vamhanya kuupresident kuti vaone mari vachiwesera nyika mari zvinozofamba sei. Takaona zvochi vanhu vakawanda vakapinda muporad nhasi ichiripo. Vamwe vacho kumubvunza dai yanga iri paramendi yaisarudza vanhu isina kumbosarudza vanhu vakadaro. Vamwe vakapuhwa mota muporad imomo. Nyangwe zvazvo vamwe vakuru wenhingi vemamwe mapato vakazoramba kupinda muporad vakazotiza zvavo vakatyora chikei wapeta zvirauro wakuenda wasiya vana vasina vanotsikira. Mubati wechigaro ndaiti mabasa aya tofanira kuatarisa kuti anoitirei nyika nokuti zvoshuwa vamwe vakatiza mapato akasara asina baba. Izvo zvinezvi taakunzwa musocial media maakunzi tonderai dzoka nehari tibike doro romusha. Zvoreva kuti inenge kusisina mwana anotungamirira mapato. Asi kana kuri kuti tati MP muno ngaasarudze president wake zvinhu zvedu zvinotifambira zvakanaka. Asi regai ndidzokere kumashure zvishoma. Mapato maviri ari muno muZimbabwe. Tine ZANU-PF, tine Triple C. Vanhu ava vanga vachisarudza hawo president kabisira nokuti kwaitwa maresolutions nemaconference nemacongress. Kana ikoko opposition kwaitwawo izvozvo vachisarudza mutungamiriri wenyika ikoko. Kana uku wainyora anonzi maresolutions vachibva kusero vachipa maresolutions kuti aiwa tinodawa. Saka izvozvo kana ma-MP apinda kuno abva kubato rake anotoziva kuti zvabva kumusha zvemaresolutions atakaita ndezvipi uya muno akusarudza akasungunuka. Saka kuti tirambe zvinhu zvakadai mubati wechigaro kuti zamburi wako munhu. Endi zvimwe zvacho hatide kuita wakadzi wekare waiti kana ndamuti ndokuda kuti handikude basha yacho zvake kuti vanondida. Ndoziva hangu kuti kwatiri uku vazhinji vari kuzvida asi vari kungoita wakadzi wekare kuti aiwa ndozvida chabvofunga asi vachitozivawo kuti vanozvida. Potadii kuti tozvida. saka ndati aiwa regai nditaure ipapo kuti ma-MP ngaapuwe mukana asarudze
Point of order.
mutungamiriri.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Order. What's your point of order, Honorable Makumire?
Ndaikumbira kuti vanoremekedzwa vamapiki vataure vakazvimirira, kwete kuti kune vamwe vari koko vanozvida. Hatizvidi, ngavataure vakazvimiririra.
Ndavanostaura vane ropa.
Saka mubato wechigaro ngavataure vakazvimiririra.
Eta zvinzwa Honorable Makumire. Honorable Mapiki. You may proceed.
Bato wechigaro ndaikumbira kuti vamedze mashoko avatauraya.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Mapiki, you may proceed.
Hapana chokumedza hapo nokuti handisati ndatsenga. Saka zviripo mubato wechigaro toda kutendai maita basa. Ndo zvinoita kana vhangeri pacheche rawanda, unoona vanopikisa vachimbosumuka vachienda kana paakunangwana huro ino upombo. Unobva waziva kuti pano muparidza ari kuita sei? Ari kuparidza. Saka mubato wechigaro regai ndipinde zvangu nendima yangu, zvinhu zvangu zvakanaka. Nyaya yandataura yekuti ma-MP anofanira kusarudza president. Munhu anenge akwidza pastori yake pamusoro pebhasi ndiye anofanira kuzoiburutsa. Saka zvatanga taitwa mazuva pamutemo munyowani wekudhara waiti ma-MP togona kubvisa president chete, asi tinenge tisina kumukwidza padenga. Saka taita aiwa izvi zvanaka nokuti tanga takahenga pakutaura kwavanotaura chirungu. Kana tichigonawo masimba okuti tibvise president pachigaro inonzi impeachment, tofanira kupuwa futi masimba okuti tiwakwidze, zvinozoita kuti kana takubvisa zvinenge zvakati fambei zvakanaka. Saka ndati aiwa iyi nyaya iyi tinofanira kuti tingoitarisa sezvairi. Saka ndiri kunyanya kurisapota ndichitoti zvakanonoka zvanga zvakutipedzera mari. Mubato wechigaro mukatarisa dai pasina kutaurwa nyaya yakataurwa yekuextenda kwetemu inisa MP kumusha kwanga uchifemerwa mugodzi. MP anga achishanda gore rimwe chete. Gore rokutanga rokusarudzwa unenge uchinesana nevanhu wawakakwikwidzana nawo. Gore rechipiri ukunesana nevanhu wawakakwikwidzana nawo. Kana waita gore rimwe chete, rechi4 wakunesana newanoda kupinda pachigaro. Saka development panga pasisina. Tanga ingoita basa rokuda kunesana chete panyaya dzepama-elections. Tingataure zvedu kuti vanhu vangazvirambe izvi. Asi ndakanzwa wangu vamwe wataura uku kuti aiwa mataura enyu wamapiki kuti tozvida, ko madii kungoita zvira mumwoyo kuti amai mukadzi wababa, hazvifambe zvichitaurwa kunzi amai mukadzi wababa, asi vanozviziva zvavo ikoko kuti amai mukadzi wababa. Saka nyaya yema-elections hapana budiriro yanga ichiitwa, nokuti pa2 years mukurwisana, pamakore mamwe chitu munenge muchirwisana. Saka MP yega yega anenge ari muchishi.
Ropa gara pasi man.
Point of order. Bato chigaro.
Order. What's your point of order?
Anonzi ma-election. Elections.
Honorable Makumire may take your seat. Honorable Mapiki, you may proceed.
Aiwa, maita basa mubato wechigaro. Kana tikapinda mufamily mega mega, pano vamwe baba vanonzi kana munin'ina wako akasumuka achitaura, vanhu vanongoti nyararai, ndo zvaari. Saka ipapa tinongonyarara separamendi nokuti ndo zvaari. Panogona kunge pakadyiwa mombe dzoumai, vanhu vanongoti chionai mangwana kuti zvinogo zvaenda zvakaita sei. Maita basa mubato wechigaro. Mubato wechigaro ndoda kuenda panyaya yataurwa kunzi mapepa edu anofanira kunge zvese zvakuenda zvibve kuzeki zviende uku. Zveshuwa panga pane matambudziko anga aripo nokuti ofisi yaregistry ndiyo yanga iri mochari. Saka zvitunha zvanga zvakuchengeteswa kusiriko. Saka kuuya kwaya zvaita izvi aiwa ngazvibva hazvo kuzeki zviende uku. Nyaya yakaita kuti 2023 zvichinjwe, pakava nomufungo kana muono kana kuvenga kuva vakanga varipo vainzi vamudede, zvokuti kana vakabvunza vanhu vakaenda panguva iyoyo vaingoti hatide mudede chete, asi zvese zvaiitwa ikoko kuti zviitwe uku zvakanga zvichiitwa. Saka aiwa ndoda kutenda minista nemaonero awakaita pawakadrafta nowakavabatsira kuti aiwa zvakesari ngazviende kuna kesari, izvo zvosara zviri kupi, zviri kwazviri uku. Ndofunga yekupedzesera hamwe chada kutorera vanhu Andichada kutorera vanhu hangu mukana wakanyanya inyaya yemadzimambo. Asi madzimambo tichataura zvedu ndo vanochengeta nhaka. Kana nhaka yakunge yakukanganiswa vanofanira kunge vachiziva kuti nhaka yakanganiswa. Asi takazosvika pokuti kana uchichengeta nhaka kana yakuda kukanganiswa usazombomira pamwe zvinogona kunetsa. Nokuti takatarisa musoro yana Chingairai ichiri kunze kwenyika ndo vamwe vakaurayiwa vachiita kuti kutaura kwatiri kuita nhasi nekukura kwataita tine matumbu anenge majojo tengiso ndo vakaita kuti musoro yavo iende uku isati yadzorerwa muno. Saka pamwe pacho patiri kuvarambidza kuti vange vachiziva zvematongerwo enyika panenge pachioma. Pamwe taita taura kuti tangoisaka cross kwekuti ngavarega haufeka rigariya. Asi takati ngavarege kuita zvematongerwo enyika kunhaka yacho vanoichengetedza sei. Ndo pamwe panoonesa ipapo. Pataita nyaya kuNigeria madzimambo anonzi maigwe akapuhwa masimba akakwana. Vanofanira kupindira mumwe macho mazviri kuitira kuti ndo vanenge vachichengetedza nhaka. Tikatarisa kana muno muZimbabwe wada kuchera gold wanoenda kuna mambo vonzi tauya kunopira kuti zvinhu pasapa zvitinakire. Asi pamwe pacho patiri kuzoti madzimambo ngaarege kupindira panenge pakatiomei. Ndangoti ipapo regai nditaure kuti madzimambo ngatirege kusimba takavatarisira pasi. Takatarisa vana mambo Tangwena panguva yavo vakaita kuti tisvike patiri pana. Asi kana wakupuhwa futi zvimwe zvigwa zvokunzi ngavarege kusvika uku ngavarege kusvika uku. Ngatirege kunyanya kutora zvokumashure. Ngatizive kuti isu separamendi tachembera vana vari kuuya vanenge vachisimba vachitariswa nevakuru. Nokuti kana muchibopa mombe regai kusimba makabopa majongozi ega ega anotiza negejo musango. Itaiwo dzimwe hombe dzinenge dziripo. Kana iyo nyika inofanira kunge ino vanoiomberera kuitira kuti kana yakuda kuenda mweya unobva wadzoka vanhu vakutanga kuizirira. Sezvataona kuno mamwe makomburidzi atakashanda nawo kuTanzania wechikadzi akanga ari uko, vamwe vatakasiya kuMozambique kuchimoyo watakatraina nawo vakavari apo vachidhifenda nyika yavo. Saka ndozvandaiti aiwa bhiri iri ndinoritsigira zvakakwana, ndinoritsigira kushamba wari kuritsigira zvakakwana nokuti vanorida. Zimbabwe yarakidza kuti 99% point chakuti ndo vakaritsigira. Kana muri muboard meeting ukaona zvakuda zvarambwa nevanhu vese uri one ungasimba uchita nharo chete aiwa ungadzi unoita nharo musoro wakaoma musoro unge unotraina imbwa. Saka izvozvo hazvifanira kuitwa. Aiwa maita basa mubato wechigara.
Further debates. I recognize Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that debate to now adjourn.
It has been moved that the debate be now adjourned. Is there any debate? I put the question that the debate be now adjourned. Those who have that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed and the debate is adjourned. To what day, Honorable Minister? To what day?
Tomorrow at 9:30, Madam Speaker.
The debate is adjourned tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
It has been moved that the House do now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that the House do not adjourn. Those who have that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no.
No.
I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed and the House is adjourned. To what day?
Tomorrow, Madam Speaker.
The House is adjourned to tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.